Mr. Daniel Addo, the CEO of Consolidated Bank of Ghana, captains of industry, friends from the media, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good morning. I, with great pleasure and a deep sense of purpose, warmly welcome you to this maiden edition of the breakfast meeting themed Trade Africa, Trade Global, which is being hosted by Bloombank Africa Gambia Limited. Today's gathering represents a significant step in our collective journey towards fostering economic resilience and integration across Africa. As Africa, and indeed the world, faces unprecedented opportunities and challenges, the Gambia is making concerted efforts to solidify its position as a key player in regional and global trade. The country's economic outlook is increasingly positive, driven by reforms and initiatives that aim to enhance trade facilitation, strengthen infrastructure, and improve the business environment generally. Inter-African trade is at the heart of this transformation. The African Continental Free Trade Zone, AfCFTA, offers a historic opportunity to create the world's largest free trade area in Africa, connecting 1.4 billion people across 55 countries. By embracing this vision, we can unlock immense economic potential, foster prosperity, and uplift millions of lives, not just in the Gambia, not just in West Africa, but across the continent. The theme of today's event, Trade Africa, Trade Global, a discourse on trade and trade-enabling infrastructure, resonates deeply with our mission at Bloombank Africa to facilitate seamless trade. Trade-enabling infrastructure is a critical instrument for enhancing competitiveness, reducing the cost of transactions, and ensuring that businesses operate more efficiently. By investing in infrastructure, we lay the foundation for sustainable economic growth and integration into global industrial value chains. Ladies and gentlemen, at Bloombank Africa, we are deeply committed to supporting the Gambia's economic ambitions. Our role extends beyond traditional banking. We aim to be a catalyst for economic development. We aim to foster partnerships that drive innovation, financial inclusion, and regional integration. Through initiatives like this breakfast meeting, we seek to create platforms where stakeholders, like those of us gathered in this room, can exchange ideas, forge partnerships, and collaboratively address the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. For the Gambia, this dialogue will set in motion and add to ongoing efforts to create tangible benefits for the Gambian people. Improved trade infrastructure will facilitate trade, better market access for local businesses to create jobs and spur economic activities that contribute to the broader African prosperity agenda. The conversations we will be having in this room today will shape policies, strategies, that directly impact people's livelihood, and national economic trajectory. Therefore, on this note, on behalf of the Board of Directors of Bloomberg Africa Gambia Limited, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to all esteemed speakers, panelists, and all attendees. Your presence here today is a testament to the significance of the dialogue we're about to have. This forum is a unique opportunity to join forces, exchange ideas, and drive meaningful progress. Therefore, let us harness the power of collaboration and innovation. Together, we can pave the way for new avenues of growth and prosperity, not only for the Gambia, but for the entire African continent. I look forward to a very productive dialogue ahead today. Thank you very much, and a warm welcome to Trade Africa, Trade Global Breakfast Meeting, hosted by Bloomberg Africa Gambia Limited. Thank you.
Another round of applause, everyone, for Mr. Olaoluwa. Thank you so much for that profound, welcome address to Bloomberg. And like you said, this is a day, and together we're here as a people, as professionals, as experts in our own different fields to exchange ideas and forge partnerships that will add to the ongoing efforts to create tangible benefits for our communities at large. And as Mr. Olaoluwa says, this is a unique opportunity to join forces and drive meaningful progress. And I think we can all embody what Bloomberg is, which is that they make it happen. And I think with all of us in this room here today and with everyone that we are about to meet and be acquainted with, I think we can all equally embody that theme where we all agree that yes, we definitely can make it happen, even in our own personal communities and in our own personal journeys. So thank you very much for that very, very amazing welcome, Mr. Olaoluwa. So next, I would like to call on Chernagay if he's here for a little poetry break. Chernagay, he's not gay, by the way. That's how he likes to. That's how he likes to introduce himself. So is Chernagay here? Not yet. That is fine. I think we can listen to more of our professionals and dignitaries speak. Oh, okay. Right. Chernagay, he's not gay, by the way. You can wait for until the keynote address has been delivered by. This is supposed to be delivered by the governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, Honorable Boa Seydi. However, he is represented by Dr. Lamin Mane. Please put your hands together for Dr. Lamin Mane to deliver a keynote address.
Thank you very much, Madam MC, Dr. Rashid Olaoluwa, Board Chairman, Bloomberg Africa Gambia Limited, Mr. Mike Ogbalu, CEO Pan-African Payment and Settlement Systems, known as PAPS, Excellency Mr. Gabriel Edgal, African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank Intra-Africa Trade Ambassador, Mr. Alan Cherry Mbangwe, Acting Chief Operating Officer, Afreximbank Bank for Anglophone West Africa, representative of for the Honorable Minister Sidi Keita, if he is around, the Minister of Finance and Economic Affairs, Mr. Usman Bojang, Director of Trade, representing Honorable Babukar Ojuf, Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, Mr. Modulamin Sow, Director of Investment, representing GAIPA, CEO and members of the Gambia Manufacturers Association, Mr. Alfred Amua, my dear friend, MD and CEO of Bloombank Africa Gambia Limited, captains of industry, CEOs, representatives of banks and financial services institutions, friends of the media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Bonjour. I am making this statement, as it has already been pointed out, on behalf of the Honorable Governor of the Central Bank of the Gambia, Mr. Boa Sedi, who is currently away on mission. Before I go into the substance of his statement, I would like to confirm here that Mr. Boa Sedi is very committed to trade and export expansion in the Gambia. We are all very concerned about inflation. But he always points out, and we support that. I've written papers on that. If you look at Gambia's trade balance sheet, we import almost 90% of our needs, and we only export 10%. So we have a gaping trade balance. Those of you who are familiar with economics, with a small open country like Gambia's, when you import so much and you only export this much, what happens is there is heavy pressure on your foreign exchange resources, which translates to pressure on your exchange rate. And what that happens in small open economies is that there is almost 100% pass-through to your prices. So this makes it very challenging to combat inflation. And this is why we at the Central Bank, under the leadership of Mr. Boa Sedi, are very committed to supporting Gambia's efforts to increase the productive base and also exports, and by extension to the full implementation of the AfCFTA. So you can now appreciate why this event is very important to us. So now going into his statement, it is indeed a great honor to stand before you today and join others in welcoming our guests to the smiling coast of Africa, our beloved Gambia, as we gather for this timely and highly relevant discourse. Allow me to thank the organizers of this event, the Bloombank Africa Gambia Limited, for initiating this important dialogue on trade and trade-enabling infrastructure, a topic that could not be more pertinent to the future of our economy, as I have just noted, and indeed for the whole of Africa. This morning, we are gathered for discussions under the theme, Trade Africa, Trade Global, a discourse on trade and trade-enabling infrastructure. This theme speaks directly to the aspirations of our nation and our continent. And it highlights the pivotal role of trade in fostering economic growth, structural and inclusive development, not just locally, but also more broadly within the continental context. I have just pointed out that our country, being a small open economy with a very narrow productive and export basis, believe it or not, we are acutely aware of the critical importance of trade and export expansion that are expected from the full implementation of the AfCFTA. This event could not have come at a more opportune time, as Africa is on the brink of implementing the AfCFTA and its associated instruments. Those of you who read the national papers would have come across an article I wrote, I think, last week, in which I detailed the progress that has been made in the implementation of the various instruments of the AfCFTA, which should be of comfort to us. Because as you all know, in our continent, it is always the case that beautiful documents and frameworks and strategies are prepared. But when it comes to implementation, we always lag. So far we have seen very concrete progress in the implementation of the agreed instruments and the frameworks of the AfCFTA. And one of them is the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which I believe will be talked into in more detail later, the Guided Trade Initiative, which is actually the framework that will allow the countries to trade among themselves. And there are many other instruments which have been fully developed by now. So as we work towards deepening our integration into the regional and global trading systems, we must recognize that the future of Africa's trade and the economic potential depends on the development and the reinforcement of these systems, both financial and infrastructural. Ladies and gentlemen, turning to the role of the Central Bank of the Gambia in trade, I would like to re-emphasize that this cannot be overstated. In the Gambia, the Central Bank has been at the forefront of efforts to create a resilient financial ecosystem that supports trade at all levels, whether through cross-border payments, providing liquidity to our businesses, or developing a secure, stable environment for investment, with the ultimate objective of reinforcing the government's efforts at generating higher levels of sustainable growth and inclusive development. As a central bank, our priority is to ensure that we provide the regulatory framework and the financial systems that facilitate seamless trade across borders. Through initiatives such as our real-time gross settlements system and the GAM Switch, a retail payment platform, we are enabling businesses, especially SMEs, to conduct transactions efficiently. Furthermore, our financial sector reforms, which include risk-based supervision, anti-money laundering measures, and financial inclusion initiatives, are directly aligned with the goals of regional trade integration. By strengthening the resilience of our financial institutions, we are building trust in the system and making it easier for businesses to engage in cross-border trade. This ensures that the systems we put in place can support the growing demands of market, knowing that their businesses are safe and their transactions secure. We are also working with key stakeholders, including the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, to facilitate real-time transactions across African borders in local currencies, which is very important. This is an important step towards eliminating the reliance on foreign currencies for Africa's trade and make cross-border trade faster, cheaper, and more accessible for all Gambian businesses. We are also witnessing promising developments in the private sector, particularly with the involvement of SMEs, who are now able to access finance more easily thanks to reforms in the financial sector, which the central bank has been spearheading. So looking ahead, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is clear that the financial sector will continue to play a critical role in realizing the full potentials of trade in the Gambia. The central bank remains committed to fostering a climate of financial stability, technological advancement, and the infrastructure development to support our businesses as they venture into regional and the global markets. Through partnerships with stakeholders such as AfCFTA, Afreximbank, PAPS, Bloombank, indeed, and through our ongoing regulatory innovations, we are confident that Gambia will continue to strengthen its role as a critical player in intra-Africa trade. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we embark on this journey together, let us not forget that trade is the lifeblood of our economy. Our success will not only be measured by the growth of businesses, but also by the ability to create opportunities for the prosperity of all Gambians. So the central bank stands ready to support every step of this journey by providing the tools, infrastructure, and financial security that our businesses need. In conclusion, I thank you once again for the opportunity to address this August gathering. I wish you fruitful deliberations throughout the morning, and we look forward to the outcomes of this important discussion as we work together to unlock Gambia's trade potential and build a brighter future for our nation and continent. Let us rededicate ourselves to the dictum: implement, implement, implement. Nobody eats opportunities. It's only through implementation that we can realize those potentials. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup, Jerejef, and thank you very, very much, Dr. Lamin Mane. Please put your hands together once again, everyone, for Dr. Mane. That was a fantastic reminder that, that we needed to hear today. And it is true that honestly, only through implementation can we realize the fruits of our labor, as well as all the writings and the designings and everything else that we've put on paper. And it is honestly time for action, time for implementation. And it is very reassuring that the central bank and other international partners within Africa and beyond are dedicated to making finance and trade more accessible. And I hope more financial institutions in the Gambia are watching, are listening, and are ready to embrace initiatives like these to make financial security a reality for all in our communities. Thank you very much once again, Dr. Mane, and let's have our spoken word interlude performed by Mr. Cherno Gay. Please put your hands together for Mr. Gay.
Good morning, everyone. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm pretty nervous. It's a good thing we have Gabriel here, because the last time I saw you, it's been like almost 2 years now. I also saw Collins. It's nice to meet you. It's nice to see you again. Poetry is a very interesting thing because I'm supposed to create art using one of the most commonly used things in the world, words. Words are boring, and I'm supposed to make that interesting. So I'm going to begin with a branding joke. Daniel Martin Klein wrote this book called Plato and a Platypus Walk into a Bar. It's philosophy, but in jokes. And in it, he has this joke where a man walks into a pet store and told the owner, "I want a talking parrot." The shop owner said, "Well, I have a parrot here for $5,000. He said, $5,000, are you insane? He was like, "Well, he speaks French and English." He was like, "Wow, that's impressive. How about the second one?" He said, that's $15,000. He said, $15,000 for a parrot? He said, "Well, he speaks French, English, and Mandarin." It's like, wow. How about the third one? He said, "Well, that's $25,000. He said, $25,000 for a parrot? He said, "Well, he speaks French, English, Mandarin, and German." It's like, that is interesting. Do you have any other one? He said, "Well, we have a parrot in the bag for $50,000. It's like, how many languages does he speak? He said, "Well, he doesn't speak at all. But these three call him master." Right? I don't know where that joke fits into this, but I think if one of you is going to be selling talking parrots on the global market, maybe you want to find one that other parrots call master. My point is, most times we pay for brand names. We pay for titles, not quality. And so there you go. So the title of my poem is Some Things. Now, that is neither fascinating nor interesting, so let's see if I can make it work. Huh? Are you ready? Here we go. Let me tell you something about some things because some things are worth talking about. For some things, like most things, when not done properly, don't amount to anything. So let's talk about things. In the 60s, we fought and died for our political independence like it was everything. 6 decades later, we are still struggling with our economic independence. Now, that is a crazy thing, because nothing becomes something without someone doing something. So let's do some things. Trade Africa. Trade global. If charity truly begins at home, then this is where we begin. Because we have potential. But potential is not enough. Potential only gets the door open. We have to walk through it to get to the other side. This is a fight, but no one is brandishing a gun. You are either processing or producing, making a profit or losing one, creating interest or building an empire. See, the world is a global market. And we don't really care who the alcalo is, as long as we can grow our farms, tend to our livestock, and sell to and buy from our fellow village people. We must build relationships, because global trade is a chain and we are all significant links. Now think, we've got potential, but potential only gets the door open, and you cannot walk into an empty room empty-handed. That is how dreams turn into nightmares. So build something, produce something, manufacture something, create something, invent something, solve something, put something on the global market. Because the world is a global village, not a global desert. We are Africa. We've got all the raw material, but you cannot come to the village party with uncooked chicken. Boil it, fry it, grill it, do something with it. So let's build the infrastructure, physical, technological, financial. Because here is a fact. Our best and brightest people are not leaving this continent because they're running away from home. They are leaving because they are running towards the opportunities they think they cannot find here. So it really doesn't matter whether Rome was built in a day or two. It only matters that someone was willing to build Rome and that someone was willing to start from the beginning. This is our beginning. So let's build this from the bottom top and let's build it on an unbreakable foundation. Because some things, like most things, when not done properly, don't amount to anything. And nothing becomes something without someone doing some things. And remember, we've got potential, but potential is not enough. Potential only gets the door open. We have to work through it to get to the other side. And you cannot walk into an empty room empty-handed. That is how dreams turn into nightmares. So let's build something, and let's build it right. Thank you.
Another round of applause for Mr. Chernagay, everyone. I had goosebumps listening to that. Anybody else? If that does not make you want to get off your chair and go process something, or sell something, or make something from nothing, then honestly, I don't know what else will. And like he said, nothing becomes something without someone doing some things. So let's do some things. Thank you very much, Mr. Gay, for that profound poem here today. And I think a lot of us were in need of hearing words like that. I'm still feeling chills. Thank you very much. And next on our itinerary today, we would be hearing our goodwill message from our regional CEO for the Anglophone West Africa of Afreximbank. Please help me welcome to the stage Mr. Alan Terry Mbonge, also known as AT Mbonge. Welcome.
Good morning. Bonjour. Let's do something. Afreximbank is here to do something today and tomorrow for Africa. So after listening to the previous speakers, I'm just tempted to put my notes aside. But I can't do that because there's a speech that was prepared. So I need to say a few words, but I'll try to be very brief. So I crave your indulgence. Honorable ministers and their representatives, the governor of the Central Bank of Gambia, ably represented, distinguished representatives of AfCFTA, PAPS, JIPA, and other esteemed institutions, board chairmen, directors and CEOs of Bloomberg Africa, Gambia, financial institutions, CEOs and executives present, captains of industries, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to be here with you all today at these inaugural editions of the Trade Africa, Trade Global Breakfast Meeting. This gathering comes at a time when Africa stands on the brink of unparalleled economic transformation. And I'm pleased to share greetings and message of goodwill on behalf of the executive management of Afreximbank under the exceptional leadership of Professor Benedict Orama. I extend my heartfelt thanks to the leadership of Bloomberg Africa Gambia for creating this important platform for discussion and collaboration, hence advancing trade, and also to the Republic of Gambia, the Central Bank of Gambia, for this unwavering support in bringing regional trade initiatives like AfCFTA to life. Platforms such as this are where our aspirations converge, where we establish partnership, and where we align our strategic priorities to transform Africa's economy. I just wanted to, ladies and gentlemen, to say a few words about the AfCFTA. I think it's clearly a transformative opportunity that redefines Africa's trade and investment. It establishes the largest free trade area in the world, uniting 1.4 billion population within a single market with a combined GDP of over 3.5 trillion US dollars. By 2030, Africa's business and consumer spending are projected to reach $6.7 trillion, providing an immense opportunity for growth, especially for Gambians, West African businesses. According to UNECA, the value of intra-African trade will increase by 400% by 2045, with AfCFTA, which was estimated at $100 billion in 2020. So these figures are actually saying that we need to do something, and we are already doing something in Gambia. And we are here as Afreximbank to support this something. So if you don't keep anything to what I'm saying, just go home and say Afreximbank and Gambian businesses are here to do something. So please, Afreximbank has embraced this vision as a central pillar of our mission, embedding intra-African trade and industrialization as cornerstones of our strategy. At Afreximbank, we believe that sharing trade information and matching supply and demand could boost intra-African trade by 38%. Our response to AfCFTA has been deliberate. I just wanted to emphasize of some of our key interventions because I want us to do something, and you need to keep that in mind. So as key interventions, Afreximbank is implementing the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund. What is it? This is a $10 billion fund, and Afreximbank has committed billions of dollars into this. It offers debt financing, grants, technical assistance to businesses to adapt to the AfCFTA. We support governments, businesses, because when they say a single market, some businesses may be adversely impacted. Some countries may be adversely impacted. So this fund is there to make sure that through this transition period, we alleviate or we mitigate this impact. So the fund is there, and is there to support Gambia, is there to support the businesses in Gambia. The Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, I think everybody knows what it is. Let me touch on the African Trade Gateway. this is a digital ecosystem. If you recall, those that have been in business, we witnessed some decades back global banks exiting Africa, and they launched an exercise called demarketing, de-risking, where banks found themselves without corresponding banking, without the cost of doing business increase, transaction costs increase, and there were suddenly high risk perceptions in terms of compliance. So Afreximbank actually came out with this African Trade Gateway platform where we allowed businesses to showcase their products and services online, where they can definitely go through the KYC requirements through a massive platform where they have access to what's happening in other countries in terms of trade information, regulation, where basically they can access trade financing. So this is revolutionary. It is so through a digital platform, you have access to Trade Africa, to Trade Global. So it's important that I touch on this. Another key initiative or intervention is the Afreximbank African Collaborative Transit Guarantee Scheme. So this addresses the cost and delay in moving goods across borders. In a nutshell, when you think of moving goods from Cape Town to Cairo in the north, you imagine the trade barriers, custom duties to be paid. So this guarantee scheme is meant to allow goods like a single visa to move goods from north, south, east, west with one instrument, one custom bond. And this is already implemented, and we've used the Southern Africa as the pilot center, and it's working very well. The other intervention, which is key for the Gambian market, is actually empowering Africa's entrepreneurs. So SMEs, women, and youth. This is very key as we implement, as we support, as we do something for the AfCFTA implementation. So Africa's transformation will not be complete until all our people are empowered to participate fully in the economy. So we all need to participate. But for you to participate, we need to support you. And what we're doing as Afreximbank is actually to come out with tailor-made solutions in terms of advisory, in terms of guarantees, in terms of direct financing. We leverage a partnership with banks like Bloombank Africa. We provide the opportunity for you to meet and to know what's going on in other African countries. So this is very much important as we talk about the implementation, the successful implementation of AfCFTA. So under this, we have programs like the Creative African Nexus. So on the creative and cultural industries, we are very much active. We have an SME development program where we provide not only financing, but we also provide capacity building. So we organize workshops just to sharpen the skills, understand what are the opportunities out there. And we have programs like factoring program. So the list is not exhaustive, but it's important to know that we are doing something. I also want to mention the Intra-African Trade Fair. This is a unique opportunity and invite all of you here and beyond to actually be in Algeria on the 4th to 10th of September next year for the Intra-African Trade Fair 2025. So this is the largest gathering in Africa where you find policymakers, governments, banks, private sector, everybody's there to talk about business. So you move and say, this is opportunity, we want to make a Gambia a hub. So these are ideas, how did you do that in Tanzania? How did you do that in DRC? How is it happening in Egypt? So you have to participate. So we have the virtual platform where you definitely can go online and subscribe. So if you Google now, IATF 2025, I hope you're taking your phones and looking at it. You need to subscribe now. So we check the subscription. Nobody will leave the room if you hasn't subscribed to IATF 2025. This is the instructions that I got from Gabi. So I'm just implementing, I'm just conveying the message. It is important to know what's happening beyond the country and to know that Afreximbank, in partnership with banks like Bloomberg, are actually making it happen. So I just wanted to also touch on our guarantee program. So when you look at Africa, and there's a high risk perception, you look at our foreign direct investment, it's one of the lowest in the world, and you ask yourself, but why is Africa, when you talk about Africa, 60% of the arable land, the youngest population, by 2050 will be, I don't know how many billions, 2.5 billion population. But why is it that when, on the contrary, the foreign direct investment is not increasing in Africa? So they say, no, there are challenges. No, you know, it's a risky place. So we come with investment guarantees, and we say to any investors that, please, if you are not comfortable with the Gambian risk, you can get a Afreximbank guarantee. If you're not comfortable with Senegalese risk, we can provide you with an investment guarantee. So everything is doable so long as the risks are mitigated. And we are here to provide risk-bearing instruments. So keep that in mind. So you shouldn't put aside any opportunity going forward. You should say, oh, by the way, AT was here and he said that there are solutions for everything when it comes to trade and investment. So we want to attract trade flows, investment flows in Africa. We want to encourage, promote, and we strongly believe that this is the way to go, intra-African trade. It's the lowest level when we look at trade among our countries, 17%. We've set up voluntary, we said we're going to increase it. We've committed, we've disbursed $20 billion in the past years, and we trying and we exceed that target to disburse $40 billion by 2026 in intra-African trade. So seize this opportunity. It is very important that we play that role. So ladies and gentlemen, Afreximbank remains committed to supporting initiatives that make this vision a reality, fostering intra-African trade through robust institutions, innovative financing, and cutting-edge technology. Let us seize this moment to solidify Africa's place in the global economy, building a future where our people thrive, our industry flourish, and our economies are interconnected. Thank you for your kind attention. Let us continue this journey towards Africa, towards an Africa that is truly open for business. Merci beaucoup.
Another round of applause for Mr. Alain Thierry Mbonge. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Mbonge. Très bien. Like he said, you guys are in a hostage situation. You're not leaving until and unless you subscribe to this. So I hope your phones are out. I hope your phones are out. You're subscribing. Good. That's very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Mbonge. And indeed, I hope we have all listened and embodied or are embodying and digesting what Mr. Mbonge has been telling us here today. And honestly, I think Afreximbank is well on its way to create a very, very, very interconnected Africa. Like we all want, if I should assume that as well, to make trade easier, to make financial security more attainable by every single member of our community, and by including every single member of our community within the work that we're doing, all the ideas that we have, innovative ideas, as well as our innovative solutions that we're bringing up for the African people and for Africa at large. So thank you very much for that very, very fantastic speech, and that very interesting intro into Afreximbank and everything else that you guys are involved in. And next on the program, we have got, I'm delighted to welcome Ambassador Gabriel Edgal, who will speak on unlocking Gambia's global trade potential. Unlocking Gambia's global trade potential through infrastructure and partnerships. So this address introduces the theme of our panel discussion that's coming next, and emphasizing how trade-enabling infrastructure can drive economic growth, cross-border trade, and Africa's integration into global markets. Please put your hands together for Honorable Ambassador Gabriel Edgal.
I've become an ambassador overnight. That's a trade ambassador, actually, for the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank. Good morning, everyone. Should we do some stretch, or we are fine? We are fine. Okay. That gentleman who delivered that speech, do something, is amazing. Completely read my mind. Honorable Minister of Finance, the representative here, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Mr. Honorable Sedi Keita, Honorable Minister of Trade, Industry, Regional Integration and Employment, Babuka Smaila Juf, ably represented by Usman Bojang. Thank you for being here. The Honorable Governor of the Central Bank of Gambia, Governor Boa Sedi, ably represented by Dr. Lamin Mane. Very beautiful speech. Thank you so much for being here, sir. Mr. Mike Ogbalu, I think you're online. The CEO of the PAPS. PAPS is creating wonders for us in Africa. And I will try during my speech to explain exactly why you must embrace PAPS. Alain Thierry Mbonge spoke like a professor, the regional CEO, Anglophone West Africa Afreximbank, representatives of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area here, the CEO of Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, GAIBA, Mr. Senghor, who is not here currently, but represented by Lamin Sowe. Daniel Ado, my brother and friend, the Managing Director and CEO of Consolidated Bank in Ghana. Thanks for coming all the way. Captains of industry, friends from the media, the Managing Director of Bloombank Africa, Alfred Amoa, other bank MDs and managing directors here present. Today, we gather at the maiden edition of Bloombank Africa's Trade Africa, Trade Global Breakfast Meeting Series. We are reminded that we stand on the shoulders of giants, visionaries who dared to dream of an Africa that is united, an Africa that is self-sufficient, thriving through trade, mutual development, and a foundational belief that together we are stronger. Leveraging the principle from East Africa, Ubuntu, I am because you are. We must understand that we come from the very same roots in Africa. And even though we are separated by borders and boundaries, as a people, we are the same. And we must break down those barriers that hold us captive to our little fiefdoms and understand that our markets are larger than what we see. Trade Africa, Trade Global. It's a thought-provoking theme, one that reaffirms the importance of our collective efforts towards a better Gambia and a better Africa for current and future generations. This gathering provides us with a unique platform to explore how infrastructure and partnerships can serve as foundational pillars to unlock Gambia's immense trade potential, fostering stronger integration into both the regional and global markets. It's a privilege to join you at this historic moment, and I believe everyone in this room is part of history being made. It is because of us, I believe, that roads will be built. It is because of us that hospitals will be built. It is because of us that trade would foster development in our various countries. I thank the management and the board of Bloombank Africa Gambia Limited for organizing this event, and for each and every one of you for making out the time to be here today. My purpose here is simple: to set the tone for a panel discussion on unlocking Gambia's trade potential, saying how can we unlock Gambia's full trade potential, leveraging our unique strengths in Gambia in infrastructure, partnerships, and policy to establish our place in regional and global markets. If we take some historical view of Gambia, you would find that Gambia has been used to be a major trade hub in those days. It was a significant trade post along the Atlantic, and in the 1980s, it became recognized as a re-export hub, facilitating the movement of goods across West Africa. Our industries, especially agriculture, fisheries, were vital pillars of the economy, supporting countless livelihoods and driving national revenue. During this era, the Gambia also had prominent warehousing and distribution networks with global players like Unilever and Co., leveraging these facilities for re-export and transshipment of goods within the region. These networks still exist. These warehouses are still there. We need to revamp that infrastructure and harness these strengths today to become a regional trade hub. With some effort, we can position ourselves in Gambia here as a major producer and distributor for West Africa and beyond, rather than relying on external imports, with 90% of our consumption is imports, all imported. You know, Gambia can actually be a gateway to West Africa and beyond. It is situated along the Atlantic, with the Gambia River running through our territory. The Gambia enjoys a geographical advantage that positions us as a natural gateway. Our proximity to Europe and locations within West Africa and along the Mano River makes us an ideal hub for facilitating trade within the Union. In fact, we should be having meetings with AfCFTA regularly to see how we can be positioned. And let us not think that Gambia is small. Look at Singapore. What did Singapore do? Singapore, despite its small size, transformed itself into a global trade hub. That's where the center of oil trade happens. That's where the center of something. You know, it's a small place. It's positioned along the Malacca Strait, a major shipping channel that links critical Asian economies like India, China, and Japan. Singapore's success was driven by investments, state-of-the-art ports, transportation networks, logistics facilities, and they established an efficient foundation for international trade. Singapore's government focused on a conducive business environment. Gambia is a conducive business environment. Friendly people, lovely people, the smiling coast of Africa. So you already have the business environment. Yes. They implemented policies for ease of doing business. They welcomed people. They focused on human capital development and attracted foreign investments. You know, we may not be the same exactly as Singapore, but we can draw an inspiration from them to say that the small can actually conquer the large. David killed Goliath, remember. But we must tailor our approach to something that suits us. Just as Singapore connects Asia with the world, the Gambia Atlantic Axis can serve as a bridge between Africa and Europe, positioning us as an entry and an exit point for trade within the continent. By enhancing our port infrastructure, promoting international and regional tourism, I know today we have 6 months, huge tourism, international. But our neighbors, trust me, if they came into Gambia, they will want to stay. I'm a living example. I come here, your beaches, lovely, but how much have we, advertised this for our neighboring countries to come here and enjoy what the Europeans come to enjoy 6 months of a year? Indeed, we can have tourism flourishing every single day of the year. Gambia can become a regional hub for distribution of commodities. Indeed, including even petroleum products. Next door here, Nigeria is selling refined petroleum products now. And guess what? You can pay in local currency. This thing called PAPS is a revolution. But I will get there. But let's imagine the port of Banjul evolving into a bustling trade center, complemented by efficient railways, highways, and business corridors that streamline the flow of goods across West Africa and beyond. This must be our focus, and we must be razor sharp in doing this. By developing this trade-enabling infrastructure, Gambia could become a critical node in Africa's regional trade network. But how do you trade if you do not create something? Someone has to create something. Otherwise, if you have nothing, then you would not be able to offer anything. Am I trying as a... Currently, obviously, we know Gambia imports all of its essential goods. Our major trading partners for these goods include the UAE, China, India, and of course, our neighbors, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire. But you know what happens to us, as the governor said through Dr. Mane? We import inflation into our country. Okay? And if you remember what happened during the crisis for COVID and the Ukraine crisis, the Ukraine war, where it was impossible to now import, grains, impossible to import fertilizers, everyone closed their borders, and we became very, very susceptible to global shocks. So food shortage was our problem. I always ask myself, why is it impossible for us to be food sufficient, to feed ourselves? If you throw a seed out in Gambia today, it will grow. We have the youthful, teeming population to do this. In fact, Africa can feed the world. There's sunshine 24 hours a day. What is going on? What is wrong with us? Anyway, we must focus on our strengths. We need to revamp our groundnut processing plants. We need to establish commodity boards. We need to establish new ones for mangoes, cashew, fish, and other agricultural products where we have strength. That will allow us to generate value-added exports instead of merely exporting primary products. The focus on secondary products will provide us with the opportunity to develop cottage industries that will produce secondary goods and create jobs, support local economies, and enhance Gambia's trade profile. We need to trade with one another in Africa. That is the solution, so that we stop importing inflation into our countries, into our environments. But we must produce something. Okay? The Africa Continental Free Trade Area that has been set up makes it possible for us to now begin to look at our neighbors. But what are we going to sell to our neighbors? What are we buying from our neighbors? If I were you, and I'm going to give a charge to the private sector truly, I'm going to look at the things that we import. What do we import from those European countries that require us to use foreign currency? And then as we have demand for dollar, exchange rates go up. And as exchange rate go up, prices for goods go up, inflation, endless cycle of that. Now, if we can pay in local currency, this is where PAPS comes in. If I can import fuel into my country and I can pay local currency, I don't need foreign currency. You know what that means? It means my demand for foreign currency reduces, because what happens is I pay Gambian dalasi here, that product is sent to me. Hello, my own currency for fuel? Can we estimate the quantum of fuel that we import, the quantum of food and the price we import? 90% of our trade is all imported foreign, and we pay dollars for it. If we were able to pay Gambian dalasi for all of that, no imported inflation, no imported exchange rates, exchange rate will not go up, inflation is a thing of the past, price stability. In fact, we should begin to look at those things that we can find in Africa that we're importing today and look to get them from Africa. That's what it is. This is what our founding fathers dreamt of, that Africa should be one. We should unite and trade with one another. Our forefathers traded. That is our strength. We keep asking ourselves, how do we unite? How do we do things? The way we can do it is through trade, full stop. Reduce those barriers, remove them completely. I buy from my neighbor, he buys from me, everybody is happy. And then we begin to develop the export capacity so that we too will begin to earn foreign currency. We need to focus, guys. For Gambia to become that regional trade hub, we have to prioritize investment in essential trade-enabling infrastructure, including ports, highways, and things. And I know sometimes we ask ourselves, how do we do this? But I'll give us a way out. Because these systems will allow Gambian businesses to access new markets with ease and efficiency. Gambia must leverage partnerships to construct special economic and industrial zones and processing plants. Setting up industrial zones with facilities to process agricultural products like grains, vegetable oils, fruits that we have abundance of, and processed foods will reduce our reliance on imports and bolster our export potential. Afreximbank has ongoing investments in developing industrial zones today. That offers Gambia an excellent opportunity to fast-track this development and position Gambia as a producer nation. In fact, you don't even have a lot of challenges because you already have the warehouses, you already have the waterways. We just need to develop the waterway infrastructure, expand our ports, and partner with Afreximbank to build these industrial zones, and voila, you will transform Gambia into the Singapore of Africa. But you must leverage partnerships. You can't do this alone. So you need to understand what AfCFTA offers. Under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, we should prioritize sourcing goods from within Africa to reduce transport costs, payment costs, leveraging PAPS, okay, shortening supply chains, and fostering closer economic ties with our ECOWAS brothers. On the other hand, once we are able to enhance our productive capacity, we can now act as a major supplier of essential food commodities and light manufactured products to the sub-region. Now, let us look at the role of Afreximbank, even though Afreximbank has said that very well. They've put together a suite of trade-enabling products and financing schemes to enable Africa increase trade with itself and with other nations. The digital suite called the Africa Trade Gateway has 4 digital products there. And I enjoin you to try to understand what these things do for you. The first one is the PAPS, like he said, the Pan-Africa Payment and Settlement System, which we said. It enables you buy, cocoa from Ghana and pay Gambian dalasi. It enables, it's a very interesting thing. So we pay local currency for this. I know some of you would like to understand this more, and please, you can contact us after this. Then there's the KYC platform they call the MANSA. it's a KYC platform. If I want to trade with my brother in Senegal, my brother in Ethiopia, or my brother in Gabon, they need to know who I am. Now, if I get onto this platform provided by Afreximbank, I provide details about myself and my business. And I have what is called a unique identifier number, identifying me as a verified trade counterparty. That way, the counterparts in other parts of Africa are comfortable that, yes, we can deal with you, provided by Afrex. They also have a trade information portal called Trader. Now, as trade companies here, you want to know, I produce cashew, okay? I want people to know that I produce cashew so that that country can stop importing cashew from Europe, but import cashew from me so I can earn foreign exchange here, or I can earn, revenues here. So this platform enables me to put my information there and create global access within the region so that they know and can see what I have to offer. It also gives you the opportunity to see what other people are selling and buying in other African countries. So again, you need to get on the Trader. And then the last thing in that platform, not the last, but the second to the last, is the Africa Trade Exchange. Now I have put my products there. Now I can see the products with that the other country has. How do I trade? There's a platform that enables you now buy and sell on that platform. So it's a marketplace that has been created for Africans to trade with Africans. Indeed, we plan to work with the GAIPA here, if they will let us, to create a marketplace, first of all, for businesses within Gambia, and link this marketplace to other marketplaces in the region, so that you can actually have access to the entire $1.4 billion market in Africa. And then there's the Trade Connect, which enables you to deal with those also in the trade value chain, like the haulage companies, shipping companies, insurance companies, etc. Now, we've spoken a lot, but what about financing? Okay? For the dream for self-sufficiency and trade prowess within Africa cannot be achieved without necessary and accessible financing tools and instruments to power it. There are many multilateral agencies, Afrexim, ADB, Islamic Development Bank, ECOWAS for Bank for Investment and Development, Badia, and all of that, okay? But more specifically, Afreximbank's products are specifically driven for trade. They have trade finance products, project finance products. They even give you money to prepare for project, called the project preparation facilities. Resource-based lending, asset-backed finance, financing structures for setting up industrial parks, financing trade enabling infrastructure, including ports, roads, storage facilities, export development programs, and they even have the Fund for Export Development in Africa, FIDA, that will provide you with long-term capital for your businesses. But I do understand that it's not easy for you to access what Afreximbank has. That's one of the things that my company, Okud Green Africa, does. But I will come there. Now, Mr. Mbonge spoke to you about the Intra-Africa Trade Fair. And that's an Intra-Africa Trade Fair organized by Afreximbank, for which I am the ambassador, and I'm now called Your Excellency. Thank you very much. We try to champion this. It is a gathering that you will be very shocked about. It brings everyone from everywhere. So yes, we have a digital platform that has this. But don't you want to see the people? You want to see them. You want to see their goods. You want to develop partnerships. You want to create trades. The last one we did has for something $1 billion worth of transactions. Gambia must be there. Do something, guys. Register, do something. You have to be at this next one. So save the date, 4th to 10th of September in Algeria. Register now, so that you know Nigerians, they are going to rush there, and if they will cluster the whole place. So be the first to register. We're not having this session in Nigeria till later, so, okay? So I encourage Gambian businesses and institutions to do that. So you can come and showcase your products, and you can see what else is happening. So we reduce cost and reduce dependence on things that cause us external shocks. Enough is enough. It is really time for us to emancipate ourselves from mental slavery, thinking that the only place that we can find succor is in Europe. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear. Bob Marley, we respect that man. But as my friend said, nothing becomes something until someone does some things. So this is a charge to the private sector. No one will do it for us. We are the ones that have the capacity to create the future that we want, so that our children will speak of us as heroes. Don't think you can do nothing. Produce something, create something, trade something, sell something, find out about something, do something. For us at Oakwood Green Africa, that's my company, what we have done is to position ourselves to implement. We are the implementers of all of the products that Afreximbank has. We have positioned ourselves to implement the AfCFTA protocols. We are the conduit through which capital comes into countries. We are the conduit through which capital comes into countries for development. It is because of us that roads are being built, hospitals are being built, factories are being built, and you can do the same. What did we do? We just went to learn about Afreximbank's products, learn about ADB's products, learn about every Africa-focused organization's products, and we put ourselves as a conduit to bring it to your doorstep. We have become the last mile deliverer of all of those solutions. Now, Mr. Obonge is going to stand here and tell you, I have this. But then, do you know how to speak his language to put the request you want properly on paper and make it bankable? Perhaps not. That's what we do at Oakwood Green Africa. That's what we have chosen to do. Not because it's the job that we got, but because we chose to be part of a solution to Africa's challenges. That's what you must do. So don't sit down and say they are having intra-Africa trade there and you are reading it on the news. Take your bag, travel there, go there and see. You will find opportunities that you never knew existed. Now we are finding opportunities. We are here today, and before we leave this room, some of you are going to come and meet me and say, that thing you said, how do I do it? And I will do it for you, and I will make money while doing good for you. So we have decided that because SMEs are the bedrock of any society, we created a product called Afreximbank. It's an accelerator program to accelerate SMEs. Everybody, if you look at all of the African countries, the people who really provide the bustling trade activities are the SMEs. So we cannot leave them. But all of those bankers with their ties, it's very difficult for them to lend to SMEs, and we can't blame them. You know, the Danielados and co. They don't want to lend to SMEs. We can't blame them because the SMEs are not bankable, okay? Because they don't have financials, they don't understand finance. So what we do is we put you in a classroom like this. We train you, give you tools for free because we are sponsored in the Gambia today by Bloombank Africa. Well done, Bloombank Africa. So we are running the SME Accelerator Program. We categorize you into stage 1 to 5. Stage 1 means the barest minimum, and we train you till you get to stage 3, stage 4, which makes you bankable. We give you tools to be able to produce financing. We give you governance structures. We give you... So these are the things we do, and we are doing that because we want to be part of the change that happens. You must do something. So in concluding, and setting the stage for today's panel discussion, today's high-level panel on unlocking Gambia's global trade potential through infrastructure and partnerships is not just supposed to be an exchange of ideas. It should be a roadmap for our future. Our panelists will explore actionable strategies for building essential infrastructure, implementing policies to support local industries, and teaching us how to utilize platforms that are already available. So now, when you Google or you go to your platforms, don't only read about the things that are happening and making waves on the internet like Equatorial Guinea. Focus on trade and how you can be part of transforming Africa's trade. In concluding, together we will chart a path that emphasizes resilience, self-sufficiency, and sustainable growth, setting a foundation for a prosperous Gambia. The Africa we desire, one that is productive, peaceful, and interconnected, is within our reach. But it will not happen on its own. It requires deliberate action. You must do something. It requires commitment and a collective resolve in our potential. Let today's discussion be the start of a journey towards realizing that vision. Thank you to Bloombank Africa, the government of Gambia, the ministers here present, everyone here present. We thank you so much. Together, we will rise. Together, we will trade. Together, we will transform our continent. My name is Gabriel Edgar, the CEO of Oakwood Green Africa, a son of Africa, and one who has chosen to be part of building the Africa we truly desire. Thank you very much.
Please, a louder round of applause. Whew, that was a lot to digest, huh? But pretty fantastic to digest too. Please, actually, Mr. Edgar, you had a brilliant idea before you started your speech. Please, I want all of us to stand up and stretch. All of us. I think we all need that, don't we? Come on, everyone. Let's stand up and stretch like 30 seconds. 30 seconds should be good. 30 seconds should be fine. There we go. See, I like that. Everyone's stretching. There we go. All right, then. Thank you very much, everyone. You can please have your seats again. And thank you very much, Mr. Edgar, once again, our Honorable Ambassador. And thank you very much, honestly, again. Imagine Gambia being like Singapore. And it's exactly like he said, we can't be like Equatorial Guinea. Guys, we cannot have that kind of reputation. We need to be more like Singapore. And honestly, I really agree with everything that he said here today. And I wish, or I'm hoping that a lot of you guys get to approach Mr. Edgar today and have a conversation with him on, obviously he's already talked about the plans that they have for Africa as a whole and in a vacuum, basically. And honestly, like he said, Africa is a catalyst, and our strength definitely is in trading. And I think our forefathers' dreams definitely need to be realized through us. At the very least, we need to start that so that when the next generation is coming along, they have something to continue, basically. And again, like he said, it is a journey. And if I must quote Game of Thrones, to go north, you must journey south, and to reach the west, you must go east. To go forward, you must go back, and to touch the light, you must pass beneath the shadow. So thank you very much, Mr. Edgar, for everything that you have told us here today. And honestly, like you said, partnerships, working together, collaboration, vigor, and willingness, that's the only way we can come together as Africa and create trade-enabling infrastructure to reduce our reliance on imports and bolster our exports and position us as a producer continent instead of just a consumer continent. Thank you very much. And without further ado, I would like for us to welcome the members of our panel for today's panel discussion. The topic is on unlocking Gambia's global trade potential through infrastructure and policy. Please welcome our moderator for today's panel discussion, Mr. Haruna Drame. Mr. Haruna Drame, CEO of PTV. Welcome on stage, Mr. Drame. My Sarahule counterpart. Imagine that. Please help me welcome on stage our Minister of Trade, Honorable Babukar Juf, but as we all know, he's not here today, so he will be represented by Mr. Usman Bojang, who is the Director of Trade. Please put your hands together for Mr. Bojang. Please welcome on stage the CEO of GAIPA, Mr. Usainu Senghor. Represented by Modla himself. Welcome on stage, sir. And the CEO of PAPS, which is the Pan-African Payments and Settlement Systems, Mr. Mike Ogbalu, would be joining us remotely. Please put your hands together for the CEO of PAPS. Please welcome the CEO of Bloombank Africa, Mr. Alfred Amoa. Looking very sharp and dignified, Mr. Alfred Amoa. Welcome on stage. And lastly, please help me welcome the CEO, Manufacturers Association of the Gambia, Honorable Farimang Saho. Represented by Momad Tal. Look at him, he's saying, that's me. Yeah, that's you. Well, a round of applause for today's panel members. Right, and Mr. Haruna Drame, the floor is yours.
Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome everybody to this panel. Very excited to be here. You owe me just 1 hour and change. We're going to try to be as interactive as possible. The conversation this morning is about connecting ourselves sub-regionally, Africa-wide, and globally. I believe one of the speakers did say here how the re-export trade was fundamental to Gambia's economy in the 80s and 90s. Whatever happened to it, I'm not sure. But we need to connect, we need to trade amongst ourselves, and I'm glad that we have the right people here to have this conversation with. 2 more activities after this panel, and that's a lunch, that we would all have lunch here together, but also allows all of us to connect individually and have those conversations that are necessary to trade amongst ourselves. As business people here, you all know the challenges of finding the dollar, euro, sterling, even CFA to do trade. So if settlement is possible in our local currency, that's, for me, the beginning of real trade. The representative of the Central Bank of the Gambia did say Gambia imports 90%. 90%. How many percent do we export? That becomes the question. So this discussion here is supposed to be a catalyst where we will begin all of these conversations that are necessary. To begin with, I'll throw this upside down. So we'll try to begin this conversation today with a representative of the Manufacturers Association of the Gambia. Mr. Tal, would you tell us the challenges, opportunities for you, local manufacturers, to enter the market in our sub-region, in Africa, to effectively trade and export to earn us money? You can use my mic. At least you're sure that's on.
Thank you, Haruna. My name is Momar Tal. I'm representing the Association of Gambian Manufacturers. The association is a private sector-led organization that represents over 100 different manufacturing companies in Gambia, including my own company, which is EcoSoil Africa. We are an organic fertilizer manufacturing company in Gambia. Now, from all the speakers, I believe that I'm representing the private sector, especially the manufacturing sector. When we talk about creating opportunities for people to do something, this is the sector that I believe is leading the way and should be leading the way. Our manufacturers have had quite a few challenges. Most of our manufacturers do engage in inter-border trade, inter-Africa trade, trading with Senegal, Bissau, and the sub-region, and there are quite a few issues that we have been experiencing. So representing those manufacturers here, I believe that they would say PAPS is an amazing opportunity. The AfCFTA is an amazing opportunity. However, as we always say, let's do something. We always do hear a lot of structural changes because before AfCFTA there was the ECOWAS protocols. Yet many manufacturers have been trying to trade within West Africa, where it's supposed to be duty-free. However, even with Senegal, up until recently, there was a huge cement dispute due to a trade dispute between Gambian manufacturers and Senegalese manufacturers. And it created a huge problem here. These are the realities that we have to also be able to address. If a manufacturer of cement in Gambia is having trouble accessing the Senegalese market, however, Senegalese cement is being imported, creates a huge issue, right? What do? Do you protect Gambian manufacturers, or do you also support Gambian traders who are also making a living from importing Senegalese cement? So these are policy issues that are extremely complex. They have social ramifications, and they need to be addressed. So however the Afreximbank, however the PAPS system, however different institutions and the AfCFTA can help in mitigating these issues would be great, but the buck stops at the Gambia government and the Senegalese government because these are bilateral issues. And a lot of the time, as we know, when we're at the border, the people at the border care less about what we're talking about in these rooms. So we have to be realistic. I think that would be the message from a lot of the manufacturers. For manufacturers, as a small country, our market is quite small locally. So every manufacturer's ambition is to export and to have access to different markets. So as an association, one of the key things that we're trying to do, and we want to engage you guys a lot in this, is to connect different manufacturing associations across the continent to see what opportunities for collaboration in terms of selling supplies or even selling your own goods across the continent. I believe manufacturers associations, because these are the drivers of creating value in countries, can really drive this trade. So our membership of 100 manufacturers includes every manufacturer that you can imagine in Gambia, from the cement producers to the steel producers, the fertilizer producers. And we're all in the same view that exporting is the way forward, but we do need a lot of support. Thank you.
Mr. Tal, thank you very much. We'll come back to you naturally. And the Ministry of Trade is represented here. GAIPA is represented here as well. So I'm sure from a policy standpoint and government bilateral relations with neighboring countries, we will be able to get some answers today, hopefully, during the course of this panel. Now, one of the cardinals for trade is finance. It's very important. Trading, individual companies, small manufacturers. How do we trade and how do we build the trade-enabling financial infrastructure? Mr. CEO, Bloom Bank Africa, Gambia Limited, Mr. Amor, we'll begin with you. How do we enable, how do financial service providers come here to the aid of manufacturers and enable us export these goods? Like Mr. Tal indicated very clearly, Gambia is a small economy, it's a small market, and the desire of every manufacturer is, how do I cross the borders with my goods and services?
Thank you very much. And I want to take this opportunity to thank everybody for coming to this event. It's a maiden event, and it's not going to stop today. It's going to be a regular event because it's meant to be a discourse. And it's very key what the Manufacturer Association is saying, because I travel along the coast, and most of the time when I pick my bag, I just pick a hand luggage. But by the time someone hears you're traveling to Ghana, they are calling you that, look, where can I get this? I hear Ghana sells this. On your way back, can you bring it to us? So by the time I'm leaving Gambia, I have extra luggage because of products I'm taking to Ghana for people to pick up and pay. And when I get to Ghana, I'm coming back, I have extra luggage. That means there is trade. But the problem is, how do they do it? Now that's where banks come in. So what I am doing, I'm practically representing banks. Because when I'm going, I'm a guarantee that my goods will come. If somebody says, go, take money, and bring my goods back, it means my goods will come. So they trust people. So this is where the financial institutions come in. And it's not only Bloomberg. I think all financial institutions here should come in. There's a lot of trade. People want to buy, people want to sell. Is the market available? Yes, the market is available. Why are logistics not there? Because the volumes are low. People don't want to travel with goods in little bags, so it becomes expensive. You get to the port with a little good, they'll charge you. And apparently, there are lots of technologies, lots of digital platforms that we can use. So, for example, if you want to trade across Africa, PAPS is there, as we say. We started PAPS, we were the first bank to start PAPS. And when it came, I was surprised about the volumes. I didn't know that people really wanted to trade like that. I had a lot of volumes, people coming in to transfer in local currency because there was no dollar issue. Now, the problem is after they transfer, the next question is, how do we get our goods into the country? How do we get our goods out of the country? So we decided that, fine, as Bloomberg, and I think every other financial institution should decide that, to go into partnership. Partnership is the way forward. So one partnership I think was going to pay off for us is the ATEX platform. Now, what the ATEX does for me as Bloomberg is that it gives the chance for manufacturers to log on and put in their goods on that platform. Now, as manufacturers, if you have any goods you produce or anything, you can put it on that platform. And when it's on the platform, everybody across Africa can see what you're selling. The good thing about it is that you can even bid in that platform. So they can bid for the prices, taking into consideration the rates and everything. Now, when they bid and you accept, it makes my financing easier for me because I know that I can give you money because you have a market that is taking your commodities. So when you come to me for financing, it's easy for me to do. But the good thing is, before you go to that platform, you also have to register into the Mansa platform, which is KYC. So when you do all your KYC, I've already gotten to know what kind of companies I'm dealing with. So the fear of diversion, the fear of fraud, the fear of all the fears when it comes to risk is taken away. So when you're in that platform, it's not only for Gambians, Nigerians are there. People who want to import products in Africa, they are there. So with these two integration, adding on PAPS is easy for me to do because I don't need to go look for dollars for you. Your local currencies are in your account. I do the transfer immediately, and your goods are delivered. The sweet bit of it is the logistics. Now, the volumes are seen on the platform. So when the platform has enough volume, moving those goods from wherever it is to Gambia, or from Gambia to wherever it goes, helps. And it always comes at a very, very good cost. I think this is what we all need to know. Not only us as Bloomberg, I think all financial institutions, all businessmen, all manufacturers, all importers. The goods are in Africa, surprisingly. So I brought in a good from Africa, and somebody actually told me in Gambia that I brought this good from Ghana, but he bought it in UK. So I was like, how can something that is being produced in Ghana be bought in UK? And to be honest, if it wasn't for my banking career, I would have started that business. Because people started asking a lot. I apologize, sir. I apologize. So we have it. We have the infrastructure. We have everything in place. But now the question is, let's discuss how to tap into them. Because that's where the gap is. We need to do something. We need to implement. I remember when PAPS came, people saw it as competition. I told people it's not competition. It's an African program, and we have to all get into it. Because if I'm transferring dollars to a country without PAPS, it's a useless venture. That country should be able to have PAPS. If people are transferring to Gambia, at least there's a Bloombank, I think FBN has joined, Vista has joined. There are lots of opportunities for transfer. And when we see these inflows, financing becomes easy. My risk level reduces. I can finance any transactions because I have a platform that I can take data from. That is what I need. Data to be able to finance people to do the business. So the manufacturing companies, you can come in, let's get this thing started. The market is open for everybody to tap into, especially in Africa. I can see from just trips from Gambia to Ghana, there are lots of opportunities there. So I think we are ready to finance. If the businesses are ready to join the movement, we can go together. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm glad my boss is not here, so I can ditch my media career and go trading, and nobody will call me out here. Anyone? No, I don't think anybody will call me out. So the Sarahule in me is injected. Maybe I should go for trade instead. Mr. Ogbalu, can you hear us? Good morning, sir. Where in the world are you, sir? Oh, you're enjoying the pyramids for us. Mr. Ogbalu, Mike? Very loud and clear. There may be a delay, but we can hear you. So I was going to ask about this Pan-African payment settlement systems. We're talking about trade. We have the business community in the Gambia here present, those from the manufacturing sector, the finance sector, the banks are here, and even the Banabanas are here. I don't know if you understand Banabana. But we wanted to get a few minutes of your time regarding how PAPS work and how we can benefit manufacturers and businesses from the Gambia.
Thank you very much. And once again, sincere apologies for not being there in person. It would have been such a delight to be there, especially with my friends. I have a lot of friends in the Gambia, and Governor Sidi, I apologize for not being there. Going straight to the question that you have asked, everything about, the continent and the economy of the continent is tied to trade. And it's actually tied to human nature. Human nature is about creating value and exchanging the value. You consume some of the value you create, and you trade the rest with the next person. And that goes all the way to national levels, where countries produce and they exchange with or they trade with other nations. However, the biggest challenge that Africa has had is that we've had 54 different rules defining how we trade with each other. And therefore, this opportunity of the AfCFTA is very, very significant for the continent, where we are now harmonizing rules, creating a single set of rules for trading within the continent. Now, without payment, trade does not happen. If you are not confident that when you part with your good, that your counterparty is going to be able to pay you, or that he pays you before you part with your goods, then trade cannot take place. What has happened is that in the past, we've had a situation where our payments have depended on infrastructure that is outside of our control. The challenge with that is that when your infrastructure is outside of your control, then whoever controls that infrastructure can determine who trades or who doesn't trade. Today, when we send money for the largest part, people send monies and it has to go through, go halfway around the world to another country before coming back to the continent. And we think that that payment system is not fit for purpose. After all, when we travel from Lagos to the Gambia, we don't first of all travel to New York before going to the Gambia. Neither do we send goods, first of all, to New York before sending it to the Gambia. So why is it okay for money to travel that way? And this is where PAPS comes in. PAPS is an initiative of Afreximbank, the AfCFTA, and the African Union Commission. And what it is it's a financial market infrastructure connecting different stakeholders from central banks to commercial banks to payment service providers, such that a payment can be initiated anywhere on the continent and arrive at its destination within the continent without, first of all, having to leave the continent and come back. All of this is able, PAPS is able to guarantee that those payments are able to happen in no more than 120 seconds. And between the initiation and the termination of that payment, PAPS has also deployed a number of critical infrastructure that ensures that the payment system works in line with global standards. We have our AML system, we have our sanction screening system, we have our fraud system. Now, this system is designed to work, have a 360 degrees protection. So it's one of the most secured systems anywhere on the planet. We will beat our hands on our chest to say that there is no payment system anywhere in the world that can say that it is in any way superior to what we have built. So we've built this payment system that is low cost, that is instant, and that allows transactions in local currencies. Now, so far today, we have about 14 central banks that have signed up, 14 countries. We expect that by the end of the year, we'll have up to 20 of these central banks. And we have about 140 commercial banks, and these are some of the biggest commercial banks on the continent. And allow me to divert a bit by saying that Bloomberg has been a critical partner, and their partners, Oakwood Green, have also supported the coming on stream of other commercial banks within the region, playing a critical role as a Pan-African focused institution. Now, how does this benefit the Gambia? The Gambia is a beautiful country, but when you look at businesses in the Gambia, they seem to think that their market can only be 2.7 million Gambians. PAPS has put this infrastructure in place to ensure that these businesses can actually begin to target 1.4 billion Africans and actually begin to trade with 1.4 billion Africans and not worry about how their payments will be settled. I know that we have a lot of very strong men in the Gambia, but even if we ask each of them to give birth to 10 children each, they will have a market size of 20 million or 27 million. But these types of infrastructure allows Gambian businesses to actually begin to now target the entire continent, and be able to do business with the entire continent. Now we see an opportunity for Gambian banks also to begin to be prime facilitators of trade across the continent, but it starts first of all by ensuring that all Gambian banks are on the platform. PAPS will lower the liquidity requirements for doing trade. What you find is that if you have a certain amount, you are now able to leverage it over and over to be able to drive trade. So I'll be happy to say a bit more on this, but maybe I'll just pause here. But PAPS is that critical infrastructure that is required to accelerate trade on the continent. And the more a payment system is efficient, the more it reduces the number of days. If people today spend 5 days to confirm payments, if you reduce the payments to make it instant, like PAPS has done, that means that the trader has more time to turn around his inventory rather than spending time trying to confirm that his counterparty has received payments. So we've also lowered the cost significantly to make sure that when people participate, the cost of using the PAPS infrastructure is not a hindrance. Finally, I would like to say that every participant on the PAPS network today is fully Mansard verified, because a network is as strong as the weakest link connecting to it. So what we've done is we've certified this payment system to the highest global standards, such that anyone, anywhere in the world can come and review our system and see that it aligns with global standards. So I'll pause here now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Timely pause there. We appreciate it. This event is put together by Bloombank Africa, Gambia Limited, and this breakfast meeting is hopefully going to be a continuous engagement between the financiers and the business community in the Gambia so that we could trade Africa, but we could trade global as well. So, Mr. Ogbalu, thank you very much there. We'll come back to you again before the end of this panel. So we have about half an hour to go. And who else is best to talk about what we are going to be engaging here with, other than the agency that's responsible for investment, export promotions in the Gambia, GAIPA, ably represented here by Modu Lamin Sow, my brother. Could you tell us what you are doing as our expert body in the Gambia to strengthen investment, but also to foster export growth, so that what Dr. Lamin Mane told us earlier could be the reverse, that we could now export 90% and import 10%.
Thank you very much, Haruna. Yes, I'm Modulamin Sow. I'm the Director of Investment Promotion and Facilitation in GAIPA, representing my CEO here, who couldn't be in the event. Please allow me, Haruna, to just say a few things before getting into the questions. Not many people would know what the mandates of GAIPAs are, so please allow me to just briefly mention that. We're the country's investment promotion agency established by an act of parliament. So we are mandated to do 4 things. We are mandated to promote and facilitate investments, promote and facilitate export is the second mandate, and the third is to support the entrepreneurial landscape and enterprises, and fourth, advocacy for a better business environment. So you could see that we're an umbrella body that encompasses a lot, basically the entire landscape of economic engagement and activities. And we're very happy to be partnering with Bloombank. This is our second time coming on to events like this. And we've also been partnering with Oakwood Green. And our involvement with Afreximbank has been very, very fruitful. And definitely we will look forward to working with these partners much more in order to support the businesses and investors and the SMEs in the country here. So for us, Haruna, we've been very focused in really trying to make this country a trading hub, an investment hub. And first, what we did is to focus on the conducive business environment aspect of it, ensuring that we are introducing reforms steadily and introducing policies that will enable such an environment to exist. But more so, really, is that we are capitalizing a lot on what is happening in the continent, particularly AfCFTA. It's huge. And what that means for us. We've been working with our line ministry, Ministry of Trade, in implementing the AfCFTA protocols I mean, we're just about in the implementation stage right now, but we spent quite a few number of years working on the negotiations, on the drafts. For example, I've been very active in the investment protocol guide for the AfCFTA. And I think another key part is the trading services as well. So we believe that by using these continental tools or continental frameworks, it can help position our country, because it's been well said here that geographically we are a well-positioned country. We have the coastal, we have the river, and then landlocked countries on the other side. So we're well-positioned. And what we wanted to do is to position this country so that investors come here and invest in order to reach the rest of Africa. But also we're leveraging on our bilateral agreements that we have. We have about half a dozen of bilateral agreements within the regional countries here. We're looking at how we can revisit those agreements vis-a-vis what's emerging in terms of the AfCFTA protocols. And even outside of the region, we have also, I think, half a dozen of bilateral agreements. And we have double taxation agreements also. So all of these, if you add it on to some of the trade tools that's been spoke about here from Afreximbank, the payment system, and etc., these are all things that are important to help businesses here or manufacturers here that will produce for the rest of the world. But again, also, we are working with trade promotion organizations. Recently, we had the ECOWAS Trade Promotion Organizations meeting here. And I think 2-3 months ago, we have the ECOWAS Investment Promotion Agencies here. All these agencies and everything that we are doing is trying to ensure that we open borders. We're trying to ensure that we're able to use frameworks and agreements to make our country more conducive for business environment. And lastly, you've seen the work we've done with Africa 50 in terms of opening up infrastructure investments in the country that will boost trade. And we are looking to do a lot more also in that time. Hopefully, during the course of this discussion, I'll speak more on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sow. We'll come to you now, Mr. Director of Trade. Essentially, we would want you to first answer the question of the Manufacturers Association of the Gambia, that it is great that these conversations are held. It is great that meetings like this are held, but it is even better at the policy level, at the bilateral level, that two countries, in particular, Gambia and Senegal, could benefit equally by local manufacturers sending goods into Dakar and Dakar sending goods to Banjul, and that the extra bottlenecks that seems to be one-sided are no longer existent. So, Mr. Boja, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Haruna. Yes, my name is Usman Bojang. Good morning, good afternoon, morning to all of you. My name is Usman Bojang. I'm the Director of Trade, representing the Minister of Trade in this breakfast event of Bloomberg Africa Gambia Limited on the theme of Trade Africa, Trade Global. I think this is a broad area of discourse, and then we need to structure it a little bit. I will just focus on the question from Haruna on the bilateral arrangements that we have with Senegal to address the problem of market access. But before then, I want to just set back a little bit on our trade balances over the years. I think we get a presentation from Central Bank that we are on deficit for the longest period, and also from Gabriel, the issues related to the infrastructure, trade infrastructure, especially the ports and all that. Yes, we have a deficit. We are struggling with deficit, and this is not peculiar to the Gambia. Most LDCs have this challenge of closing the trade deficit gaps that they have. So we have seen from statistics in terms of growth of our export and import, they are all growing, but still at that deficit pace. Why are we not exporting the way we should export? So there are a number of challenges that is affecting our exports. One, if you look at our export, the export itself, a chunk of it is re-export trade. So Gambia as a country is not, in terms of domestic export, we are doing much. We are not doing much because, one, we don't have the capacity to even produce. So production capacity is a problem. We have a challenge with quality infrastructure. We have a challenge with market access. So when it comes to market access, for example, most of our exports are into European Union, and now we are seeing them being diverted to Asia, because most of the exports are agricultural products. These agricultural products in the developed countries, they don't attract custom duties per se. In fact, most of them are they are zero rated in terms of custom duties. But then you have a duty or a tariff on one side. But what is also affecting trade is non-tariff barrier. And non-tariff barriers are SPS, sanitary, phytosanitary measures, TBT, technical barriers to trade. So this is actually, that is affecting our market access opportunities in European market and Asian market. Therefore, AfCFTA to us is coming as an opportunity to diversify our market. So we should not focus too much on those markets that give us stringent conditions as far as our NTBs are concerned. So AfCFTA is an opportunity for us to diversify these markets. What do we do as a ministry when we had that opportunity of participating in the AfCFTA? The Ministry of Trade led the Gambia's negotiation in the participation of the AfCFTA. We negotiated all the protocols from the phase 1 protocols. It has phase 1 and 2, and also continuing the negotiation on phase 2 protocols. When we say phase 1 protocols, I want to believe some of you might know this. These are protocol related to trading goods, trading services, and dispute settlement mechanism under the AfCFTA. So the phase 2, we are looking at investment, digital trade, women and youth in trade, and competition, intellectual property. These are all protocols associated to the AfCFTA. So as far as negotiating and safeguarding our interests, we have taken the lead role in that. But what do we do as part of the implementation of this agreement? In principle, AfCFTA have already started. Implementation of the agreement have already started in January 2021. So what do we do? Where are we in Gambia as far as the implementation of the agreement at the policy level? We have developed an AfCFTA implementation strategy, and we are now rolling out the implementation of this strategy. We have also developed a communication strategy for AfCFTA. So we are already going out, meeting all the relevant stakeholders to raise awareness and the benefit associated with the AfCFTA for the private sector. As far as trading goods under the AfCFTA is concerned, Gambia has already negotiated and agreed on the tariff that are going to be dismantled under the AfCFTA. So we've agreed on our tariff schedules. And then we have already, through consultation, of course, at the national level, we have already submitted this tariff schedule through ECOWAS. Our trading services schedule of specific commitment in terms of liberalization, we have already negotiated and agreed and submitted. Currently, we are working on the trading documents, and we are almost done. We have identified Chamber of Commerce to be the national competent authority under the AfCFTA for issuing certificate of origin. So as we speak, the certificate of origin documentation is ready for the Gambia, and this competent authority, which is the Chamber of Commerce, is already prepared the grounds so that anybody who want to hit this market, you can just walk into the chamber and get your necessary documentation that will accompany the product to other markets. We've already identified the specimen signatures that is going to be signed accompanying this product. So Chamber of Commerce, GRA, we've identified people who are going to be specimen signatures assigning this product. And we are also, somebody mentioned about GTA, the Guided Trade Initiative under the AfCFTA. What is observed is AfCFTA is negotiated, but the start of trading have already started in principle in January 2021, but actually the actual trade volume that is hitting the market is not up there. So they came up with this scheme called the Guided Trade Initiative. And Gambia has already expressed interest to join this. We are working with the Secretariat so that we can also somehow test the market and see how it goes for our products. So we are working with a number of private sector companies to work under the scheme of the Guided Trade Initiative. We have also gazette our tariff schedules on the AfCFTA. So you have a tariff schedule that identify your 90 patterns of tariff that is going to be liberalized, your 10% that is going to be between sensitive list of product and exclusive lists. So as far as the Gambia is concerned, we are set to start trading under the AfCFTA. As I said, we have already rolled out the communication strategy, implementation of the communication. We are meeting the relevant stakeholders. We have a negotiating team that is headed by one of my colleagues in this room here. We've met a number of stakeholders, including Central Bank of the Gambia, Bloombank, try to understand the PAPS and how we can also advocate the implementation of the PAPS to support the AfCFTA implementation. Let me come down to the questions about our relationship with the neighboring countries. We know that Gambia is surrounded by Senegal. So obviously, apparently, you cannot promote trade. We don't have a very healthy relationship with Senegal. And we've seen a number of trade tensions that are happening between the two countries. But what we are trying to do is to amicably address these tensions through dialogue. Because that is for us, we believe that is best of our interests, is through dialogue. So we have different platforms where we discuss when we have trade issues. Currently, I think some of you are aware that there is what they call the Presidential Council that is usually organized between the President of Senegal and the Gambia. And they talk about a lot of issues, including trade, of course. Within that Presidential Council, what we are also implementing with Senegal is called Trade and Transit Agreement that has a monitoring mechanism. So there is a committee, a joint committee, that is chaired by the Minister of Trade and the Minister of Trade of Senegal and the Minister of Trade of the Gambia to look at some of these issues, trade issues that affect between our borders. We are just from Senegal in July of that committee meeting, and we are able to address some of the issues regarding cross-border, especially the issues on cement. It was difficult, but we are able to touch and agree and discuss and agree on them. The next council, the next joint commission between the Gambia and Senegal, as far as the technical committee, is going to be in December in the Gambia. The issue about the cement, as we are saying, what is the manufacturing contribution to GDP? How do we, AfCFTA is a market that is open for us. We negotiated the opening of that market. But what if you don't have something to offer? How do you then take advantage of the market? Then AfCFTA, you will open, others will open. If you cannot offer, then you will be there to receive. And then that will continue to expand your balance of trade. And as one of the speakers said, we will then continue to import inflation because we are net importers of food. So if you want to take advantage of the AfCFTA as market opening, you have to create the productive base. You have to create the environment for the manufacturing. And some of our manufacturing players, they are infant industries. They are young industries. But what do? We can, to some extent, protect them to grow so that they can able to create that capacity to enter in the regional market. So the whole idea about our preparation for the AfCFTA, in terms of documentation, we are ready. But what we need to focus more on now is how do we create that productive base, productive capacity to be able to take advantage of that AfCFTA agreement. And one solution that was suggested by Gabriel, I think that was a good one, the port expansion. I think port, we are saying that we are regional hub. We used to be regional hub. I think what we need to understand at a time when we are regional hub, we have a tariff competitiveness advantage because Gambia at a time, we are applying a tariff that is less than the current tariff of the ECOWAS CET. So the ECOWAS came to, because of the regional integration process of ECOWAS also, through trade, they came up with this regime of the common external tariff. Our average tariff before the ECOWAS common external tariff was 18%. But now the average tariff is harmonized, so we all have 20%, including Senegal. So to get advantage of your competitiveness is to invest in your port, to make your port more efficient, so tariff is no more an issue now. So I think we should focus a lot on that, the port expansion, and also improve productive capacity. And I'll just conclude there, Haruna. I know you are in a haste. One strategy or one solution that we are doing to improve that productive capacity, I think Gabriel also mentioned that, is the special economic zones. So currently, the government of the Gambia, through African Development Bank, has just completed a feasibility study for special economic zone along the Trans-Gambia corridor. And this will also have some agro-pools along the strategic area of the economy. This, we think, if we are able to establish this, it will help in terms of that building of that productive capacity while we take advantage of the AfCFTA as a regional market. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bojang. You've given me a handful. Not only did you answer our question, but you went further over and beyond the question, which was really great. We have about 20 minutes to go, and I wanted to do one more round before we exhaust that. And of course, in conclusion, each of you would have about 10 minutes, 2 minutes to just round up the point. So welcome to you, Mr. CEO of Bloombank Africa, Gambia Limited. And we're going to be looking at what most of the people say is LC. I've heard here also Oakwood Green. I've heard Afreximbank. I've heard PAPS. How do we now, for all of us that are here, the financial people, how do they help me and Itals and all the other businesses to be a part of this, and how easy is it? We need to be able to bring these down and simplify in everyday language. I mean, since you are interacting with Gambian businesses on a daily basis, perhaps you find a better way of just landing us very softly.
Thank you very much. I am LC. Well, that's one of the biggest trade tool that is used in Gambia. So sometimes people come into the bank and they say, I want an LC. And they don't even understand what the LC is. The idea is that it's an instrument that if we give to you automatically, you get access to any goods you want, and then we pay later. LC is an instrument, a trade instrument that we issue as a bank, guaranteeing the supplier that the person who wants to buy your commodity, I'm trying to make it as simple as it can be, the person who wants to buy your goods will pay. And that LC is established based on the agreement you sign between you and the supplier of the goods. So we pick up the agreements, we look at it, and we are comfortable that both of you have agreed on these terms. After we've seen that, then we establish an LC on your behalf, telling the suppliers that this is the agreement, that the goods should come based on this agreement, and if we receive the goods, we'll pay after specific dates stated on the LC, or on the agreement, I mean. So most importers always want to use that as a tool. But the funny thing about LC is that I, as a bank, am the one guaranteeing that importation for you based on that instrument I have issued. So I would also have to do my due diligence, knowing very well that you would pay on the due date, because you can't revoke an LC. Immediately I issue it on the due date, the money will be taken. So if the importer doesn't have the funds, I would have to pay and start chasing the funds. So that's why when people walk into the bank, we have to break it down to them that it's a risk instrument as well. We have to make sure that you are capable of paying. So you see, as he mentioned, young businessmen, very young businessmen, when they come, their turnovers are maybe $10,000, but they've gone to sign on contracts of $3 million and comes that the bank should issue an LC on their behalf. Now, the good thing about issuing an LC is that we look at both sides. You, the importer, the goods you are importing, do you have the market to sell? If you have the market to sell, especially when it's a fast-moving commodities, yes, there are conditions we can attach to that, because we know that immediately these goods come, somebody's taking it up, and the person is going to pay. So we have different conditions. And that's why I went back, in my initial statement, I said, there are platforms, the platforms, especially the ATEX platform, we already know the buyer and the seller. We already know the off-taker of the goods you are trying to purchase in the platform. So as financial institutions, it makes it easier for us to say, okay, fine. If this gentleman already has a buyer, then we can decide to fund it. Because in that platform, we've already done the KYC. We know your turnovers. Through the Mansa system, we already know all the turnovers. We know your businesses, so it's easier to fund. So that's the problem with LCs in this country. Everybody wants an LC, but I don't want to use the word, they are not ready for us to establish that LC. Because suppliers always say, give me an instrument, LC, and everything. Sometimes there are better ways to handle it. You can have a business, if you have an off-taker of your business, and you need to import the goods to sell to the off-taker in the country, you can also ask the off-taker to issue a guarantee from another institution saying that, look, if you bring these goods, I'll pay for it. And this is the guarantee to tell you from another bank telling you that I'll pay for it. That means as Bloomberg, I am sure that the money is there with another financial institution. And I can, on that note, issue the LC. That is safer for me. But you can't come to me without any collateral, any security, and say, look, I want to issue an LC. The saddest aspect is if you even tell them to put an equity contribution to it, they said, no, we can't put an equity contribution. You want to import rice, put in equity contribution, they'll tell you, I don't have, just issue the LC. When the rice come, I already have somebody that is going to take the rice. If the rice is on the sea and you travel, that means you've turned Bloomberg into a Bloom rice, because I'll have to sell that rice myself to get my funds back. On the D-Day, they will take the money. So LCs are instruments. It's good for trade, yes, but we would only issue LCs to people who have met all our risk criteria to have the goods coming. And if we talk of LCs, it goes as far as global trade. So that's when we are importing from the global world. Yes, some African countries also ask for LCs. But I think this is where we have to do something, because if all of us together as Africans now understand and use all these platforms we have, trading will be easy. There will be no complications. If we do it once, we do it twice, we'll know that, look, I don't think if somebody, I'm hearing this issue of cement between Senegal and Gambia, and I'm hearing an overflow of cement in Nigeria, and I'm wondering why we're, So there are opportunities, the market is there, we can do things together as Africans, and look for better instruments as Africans, so that we can do business and grow. Whatever business we do, I'm sure the government will be happy if we all sit down and do business together, no matter how small your business is. In addition to that, we have little businesses, as we had to partner with AfriCellerate. Yes, when people come into the bank, we now realize that they don't even understand what they want to do. That was another gap, knowledge gap about businesses. Everybody thinks you buy, you sell, you make your profit, and you walk away. That was why, as Bloomberg, we decided to partner with AfriCellerate, because they brought about stages of improving SMEs from stage 1 to stage 5. Maybe when you come to Bloomberg, we'll explain the stages for you. We train to a certain point where we know you are very bankable, and then we finance your business from there. And that one, I know that I have seen you grow up the business line, and I know that you can do business. So these are some of the things that would help the businesses in Gambia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tal, we're coming back to you. Have your questions been answered? 1. 2, are Gambian manufacturers ready for the quality, quantity to export and compete in the sub-region?
Yes, thank you. I think some of our questions have been answered, but I think that further deliberations with the other manufacturers is very much needed, especially for the manufacturers to also understand how the PAPS system can benefit them. I think these are individual conversations that need to be had. This is a good forum for us to all come together, but as an association, our doors are open, and we will give access to all the manufacturers and also share with them the information. Now, in terms of readiness, personally myself, being a manufacturer, have been exporting for the last 10 years. We've exported to Europe, we've exported across Africa, we've exported to Asia, and meeting all of their standards without any bank financing. A lot of time, client financing or equity financing. Now, of course, our scalability is limited due to our funds and a lot of logistical issues. However, to say that manufacturers are not ready would be underestimating the capacity of Gambian manufacturers. Manufacturers are ready. What we need is access to the market and the right financing tools to scale. Of course, there's a lot of small and medium enterprises that need more help to come up with capacity to grow. But there's companies here with 20 years experience in the local market and within the sub-region. The question is, how do the financial institutions and international organizations map these companies out? How do you know who they are? How do you have that trust that you said? And that's what the association is there for. Because to qualify to be in this association, there's certain criteria, right? And I believe that all the manufacturers that are within the Association of Gambian Manufacturers are reputable household names who have long track records of delivering excellence. So that should be one way of identifying champions for trade from Gambia to the rest of the continent. And that's what our role is.
Gambian manufacturers. Mr. So, I'm running back to you now very quickly. And this time, GAIPA, a lot of people point fingers at GAIPA to say, you're eager to have foreign investors come in and create all of the incentives for them. But you don't do the same for local investors and local potentials to grow. How will you answer this?
Yes, a lot of the investors in this country here are beneficiaries of the GAIPA investment incentives. And that goes for the Gambian entrepreneurs and investors. And for example here, the manufacturers associations, they have like 100 members, and I can say almost majority of them have benefited from the GAIPA investment incentives. The reason why this tends to be mentioned around is because in the beginning, 2020, when the incentive was created, it was only for foreign direct investors. And that went on for 5 years. But then we changed the act, the laws, the 2015 Act. The 2020 Act was for foreign investors, but the 2015 now brought in domestic investors and recognizing that a lot of the investors and investments are Gambian residents. And for that, we need to create the incentives. And we give the same amount of incentives for domestic investors and even made it much more better for them by reducing the threshold. The threshold used to be $250,000 US. For domestic investors, we reduce it to just $100,000 US. And that means all the committed funds towards the enterprise that you are establishing. It's not referring to your bank accounts. So that brought a lot of people within the scope of benefiting from the incentives. And this time around, 5 years on, Now we are reviewing the GIPA Act with the Ministry of Trade and Finance, and we are bringing in a lot of elements into it, having a lot of focus on domestic investors, but more importantly, inter-Africa investments, for which the AfCFTA have just kind of opened up our eyes to say, look, let's see how we can incentivize investments that are coming from other African countries. And for that, that's why you see a few months ago, you have the ECOWAS investment promotion agencies here, and we are developing our statute. We were actually discussing the statute of how to now join hands with the AfCFTA investment protocol, which is now signed and finalized. We've been negotiating that for the past 2 years, and it's one of the most prospective investment promotion tools in the world, because we developed the investment protocol on the basis of best practice, and we've brought in a lot of other dimension to it, for which we are very proud of as African initiatives. So what I'm trying to say, to simplify the language, is that know that right now, if you are a producer in this country, or if you are an investor in this country, you want to invest in any African country for the whole continent, it will be as easy as you are investing here. You just have to have that notion, that belief, that, for example, if I have the audience of the Manufacturers Association, I'll say, okay, you are all established here manufacturing, but know that you can easily do this in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Senegal, very easily, because there's this new investment protocol that we are all buying by, and it protects you as more than anywhere else. So yes, the new one that we are negotiating, and I would also like to tell the audience here that try and participate in the review of this new GIPA Act, for which we will be holding a similar forum like this shortly, to take on board a lot of your perspectives and what we want us to do. But we wanted to be very focused on domestic investors, inter-Africa investments, and go away from this notion that it's only FDIs. So the SMEs also, we've already have a draft, and we have a very good package for the SMEs, because they've been kind of left out in the past. So we're trying to ensure that they are catered for. So if anything else, beyond the physical incentives, which I'm talking about here, we are looking at support and facilitations as well. As you can see, sometimes hand-holding exercises are needed to hold hands and help them from stage to stage through the journey of actually doing the investments and growing the investments and being in a positions where also you can export. Thank you.
Mr. So, may I remind you, we also have 15 minutes of questions and answers from the audience, and you can direct the questions to any one of my panel here. But before that, Mr. Mike, are you with us? Mr. Ogbalu?
I am.
Ah, you're still enjoying the pyramids.
Yeah, for now.
Did you catch anything that were the discussion here that you want to intervene? You want to share anything about any of the interventions, and anyone from my panel, and you have anything you want to pick on?
Yeah, no. Well, I think one of your questions is whether the Gambian Manufacturers Association is ready. My candid view is that they are, and I think that they just need to be able to leverage the right tools, and I think that PAPS is one of those right tools. Well, what we have built is a core infrastructure that connects different countries. The trade happens through banks and through other financial services providers. We have a very active central bank in the Gambia, and we've had significant support from the governor. So what really is missing is making sure that the adoption across the industry is gets to the peak, such that manufacturers, exporters, and so on can actually now leverage these facilities even much deeper. In a few of the other markets where we have presence, what we've had is a situation where commercial banks have constantly extended the value that we've created as PAPS to different channels beyond just the brick and mortar branches. They're able to extend it to corporate internet banking, digital channels of all sorts, and that way it makes it even more convenient, not just for large corporates, but also for SMEs and small businesses to leverage PAPS. I have taken note of the remark from other members of the panel, and we'll be reaching out even more directly, and we'll be very happy to have webinars to further explain to manufacturers exactly to have a PAPS focus session and to be able to walk them through how they can leverage the innovations that have been built on PAPS and around PAPS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Very good intervention there. Mr. Bojang, do you have anything you want to pick on before we go to the public? And maybe somebody from State of Mic should help us with one mic to go around the audience for the questions and answers. Mr. Bojang, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much. Just to buttress the point I've made on AfCFTA as an opportunity for us as a country to diversify our market. But we will say that it's a market opening opportunity, but you have to work on the productive capacity. You have to work on the volumes. You have to work on the production and the transformation to be able to access that market. You should be able to offer something to the market. Otherwise, others are, as others are open, you are also open. So they can take advantage of your market because they have something to offer. So it's a market opening that also opens competition in the space, in the African space. We are seeing Gambia and not as a single market now, but as an integrated market in Africa. So if we don't work together and work fast to make sure that we get the necessary reforms, get the private sector through the manufacturing association ready to be able to offer something, then the market, the net trade balance that we are seeing will continue to be around even with the AfCFTA. So that collaboration between government and all the relevant stakeholders, including the private sector, is relevant, is important to take advantage of AfCFTA. So that together we should start doing something to take advantage of the AfCFTA. Thank you very much.
Something so many times today, and I think, Cherno, if you're here, I'll accuse you of that. Something. Everybody's saying something. So I'll also want to do something, and I'm doing something regarding your questions. So if you have any questions, let's see your hands. Any questions? And the questions can be directed to any one of the panel directly. Our response times should be no longer than 2 minutes, guys, on the panel, so we can have as many questions as possible. So, sir, tell us your name and where you're from and what the question is. Direct it to a person, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. My name is, can I stand up?
Yeah, you can,
yes,
absolutely.
Thank you. My name is Musa Sawane. I'm a principal economist at the Ministry of Trade. I work with Mr. Boja, and I'm also the national coordinator for AfCFTA. Mine is a bit of question and a comment. First, I just want to say that I appreciate this event. Thank you, Mr. CEO. And Mr. Aaron, I think for me, it's more of a trust between the private sector and the government. I think there's lack of trust. The private sector doesn't trust the government in terms of its implementation. We organize private sector dialogue high level, and guess what? No one came. A few people came. And just to assure Mr. Tal that we've been working with the Manufacturing Association, and we are trying to see that, because for us, without the private sector, there is no need for the Gambia to join AfCFTA. We are joining AfCFTA for the fact that our private sector can get access to the market, a market of over billions of people, 1-point-something billion. So for us, it's because of the market. So my question to you is, what can the Manufacturer Association do to get its members to trust the government in terms of its process? Because what is always said is that, oh, ECOWAS is here, So there is no need. ECOWAS hasn't solved the problem. So obviously this will solve the problem. But I can assure you that the AfCFTA is different, is a game changer, is a continental agenda, and all hands must be on deck to see that we solve this. So what can your association do to trust the government on this process? Thank you very much.
So that's a tough one to speak on the trust of the entire association. But we are familiar with each other. The last session, high-level session on the AfCFTA, I was in your office and we were coming up. We gave a lot of opinions of what should be in these agreements from the private sector. So yes, the working relationship is there. And I believe there's a lot has been done to foster that trust between the government and the private sector. I think where the mistrust, I wouldn't call it mistrust, but I think private sector's apprehension with all of these new things comes from past experiences with, for example, the ECOWAS protocol. So we were all excited about the ECOWAS protocol, and we're still not able to export into Senegal of all places. So we ask, okay, we come to all these meetings, we put out our frustrations, and we come up with solutions. Now we open all the borders in Africa, and we try to send some goods to Dakar, and they get stopped at the border. So we've lived it, we're traumatized. So it's not more about the government, it's more about the implementation. Like we say, especially private sector, we're not much of talkers. We like to get things done. So a constant meeting speaking about the same issues we've been speaking about for the last 10 years gets tired. We have bills to pay. Just get it done. We just want to see the results. That's what we're interested in. Now, in terms of getting the private sector and more of our members to engage with the ministry, and it's a challenge, because even as an association, getting data, we try to provide the ministry with data from the manufacturers so we can make informed decisions. But there's a culture of secrecy in the country. I don't know where it stems from, but people don't like to share data. So I think one of the things that we have to do is find mechanisms where manufacturers are comfortable to share their data anonymously so they can understand that this data can be used to make the right decisions and policies for them. A big part of the problem is without this data from the manufacturers, people who are really living it, it's hard to back up your claims or your positions for certain things that you want. For example, with the conversations we had about electricity and the issues that we're all facing with NAWEC. But when we ask all the manufacturers who come and call on us to fight for this, share us your electricity bills over a last period of time. You don't hear anybody again. So how can we fight for you without data? So changing that information, that lack of trust or that guardedness on data within your company, changing that perspective and making them understand that they can do this anonymously, we can use and show them that using this data can be beneficial to them, is going to be a step in the right direction. But I think, again, the manufacturers are traumatized. As soon as they release some data, the government finds a new way to tax them. So, you know, you must assure us that we are not paying any more taxes, and then, you know. So, thank you.
We said 2 minutes, but you've seen the manufacturer's point in the end. All of that 3-4 minutes of conversation ends up somewhere. I give you data, you charge me more. Why would I give you more data? Because I know the end result is charging more. That's your answer, sir. Any more questions? Okay, sir, please stand up so we can see you. Thank you. Who you are, where you're from, and the question. You can direct it to an individual. Go ahead.
My name is Mohammed Tunkara, Sony Transfer.
You know, Sarahules, today we are dominating, huh?
Yeah, we are.
Go ahead, sir.
My question is aimed at Momar and perhaps as well Ministry of Trade. I live in the UK, so the reason why I'm saying that is you go to, say, Tesco, you buy dried mangoes, you look at the back, it says Radville Farm, or baby corns, you know, the small ones. You look at the back, it says Radville Farm. So the question is...
And Radville Farm is a farm in the Gambia?
Yeah, for context, for those
Go ahead.
Gambians.
Yes.
It's an Indian-run farm, if I'm getting it right.
It's a Gambian farm.
Okay. The question is, how are they able to get these goods in places like Tesco when our other people are not able to get their products in these places? And as well in these places, you have a lot of Gambian shops. All of the goods, the palm oil, everything we buy from them for cooking and stuff, And
That's
not
the African stores in the
the
UK.
African stores. The Gambian stores, to be specific, in fact, the ones owned by our own brothers. The goods they have are not from Gambia. They are from Mali, Ivory Coast, and other places. And it's the same story in Paris. It's the same story in New York. You understand? So my question is, why are Gambians not able to export these things, the local stuff that we are the consumers of? Why are we not able to get these in these cities that I've mentioned when we already produce them there? Why? Why are we not able to do that?
Thank you, Mr. Tunkara. I'll start with you, Mr. Trade, Mr. Boja. Let's begin with you. I think there's a mic somewhere. Just turn it on. Flip it up, the mic.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Yeah, it's a tricky question. It's about market access. So it's about European market, accessing European markets. So to access European market, there are criteria. First, you have to meet the criteria of the tariff criteria. And to some extent, most of the agricultural products, they don't pay duty when they come to European market. They are duty-free products because they are wholly produced products. But there are other, as I said, other related standard requirements. If you want to export to the European Union, you must meet certain standard requirements. So those requirements, we have a problem in the Gambia in terms of verifying whether they've met those requirements. So that is what we call quality infrastructure. So the quality infrastructure in the Gambia is weak because we don't even have the appropriate labs to test for certain things, labs that are accredited. So sometimes you have to do that through other countries like Senegal, do the testing. So it adds cost to business. So those people, if they feel that it's easier, because it's about trade, it's about at the end of the day profit that you're going to make. If they feel that it's easier and cost effective to import from Mali to UK than from the Gambia to the UK, then they will prefer to go to Mali. Again, I think the CEO of Bloomberg mentioned about volumes. Do we have the right volumes so that that cost benefit can be earned? Because if you want to import from Mali, for example, you may get that volume that will give you, that will help you in terms of the costs. And also the standards, the quality issues, how do we test them? How do we do the certification process? Our certification bodies, are they accredited? So these are all problems around, one, on the volume, cost of business in the Gambia, and also the lack of basic infrastructure. So we had that challenge, and it's affecting our export to some of these European countries because we cannot easily meet their standards. And most of these other countries like Mali and others, they invest a lot on meeting the quality infrastructure to be able to access the European market. This is why we are even seeing our groundnut, our cashew, they are not now going to EU. They are moving to Vietnam, to India, because it's easier to meet those people quality standards than European standard. Because European standards usually, sometimes they are even higher than international standards. So sometimes it's always very difficult to meet them. So you have to invest, you have to first understand the standards requirement of your products. You have to invest in the quality infrastructure to be able to meet those standards. And that requires, so that is a problem for Gambia. One, we don't have the volume. Two, we have a problem of quality infrastructure. So accessing premium markets like European market is a challenge. And that we have to work as government to address that. In the meantime, we are seeing export being diverted to China. We have seen export being diverted to Vietnam. And we are seeing AfCFTA as also an opportunity to diversify our that export, whilst we work on the quality infrastructure that will also boost the volume to be able to access those premium markets.
Thank you very much, Mr. Boja. Since Mr. Tunkara's question is two-sided, it's a double-edged sword. But I'm just confused there. Yes. So the European standard requirement is higher than the international standard.
Yes.
So what standard is that, sir?
Yes, I think that is a little bit technical. It's about the WTO, World Trade Organization, and the rules of the WTO. The WTO recognizes certain standard-setting organizations that if you reference your standard with those companies, then your standard is recognized as international standards. For example, Codex for if it is food, IPPC if it is plant products, and then the other one is OIE, animal products. But again, those are recognized international standards. So if you have a national standard that references that international standard, and you produce something that is in line with that national standard, which is reference to this international, is accepted globally as international. Yeah. But there is a caveat to this international standard setting thing. The caveat is you can also develop a national standard that is even higher than that international standard, provided you've done a risk assessment justifying the need for you to get that standard. So Europe, sometimes they do this. They look at certain products and they will see international, even though they participate in the setting of those international standards, but they will conduct a risk assessment to see that even that international standard is substandard as far as Europe is concerned. And when they are able to prove, they can prove it sometimes, they can prove it before it's accepted. When they're able to prove this scientifically, through risk assessment, through labs, scientifically, then it's accepted. So this is a problem. And if it is accepted scientifically, then you cannot argue it much because it's accepted, scientific proof to it, and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Tunkara, for your question. I actually love the question because you're talking about mangoes. And if you know anything about my stories, that's why I started my business exporting mangoes to Europe. And inspired by the Radville, asked myself the same question, why is Radville's mangoes there the only Gambian mangoes? And once I went down this journey, I understood that this is a structural issue, and it comes back to why it's so important for Africans to do business within themselves. Radville, yes, it's registered in Gambia, but Radville is owned by Wilmore Group in London. Tesco will never buy mangoes from you and me. They will buy from a British company because they can trust them and hold them accountable. So Wilmore, being the in-between, owns Radville. Radville only sells to Wilmore, Wilmore sells to Tesco. I sell mangoes in England. I sell mangoes in France. I've approached Auchan. I've approached Tesco, everybody. But they don't want to even send money to Africa. So unless I establish an entity in Europe that is recognized by them and can give them the volumes and have all the certification, they won't buy from us. So what we ended up doing is going into the secondary market. We found a guy who represents 500 Indian stores within England. They don't care about certification, they don't care about whatever. But their price is a little bit lower, but they can distribute your stuff. So if you go to Dalston Market, you'll find our okras, our mangoes. You go to France, you go in Paris to the market, you find it there. Lower price, less packaging, it's there. So now the question is, ShopRite exists all over Africa. Ocean is here. Instead of looking at the European market, we should ask ourselves, how do we sell to ShopRite? How do we sell to these people? So, and what the Europeans are doing for themselves, we can do for ourselves here. And I think that's been the shift in my business. We sell now to Nigeria. We have a lot of challenges, of course, but it's opportunities like this that are charting the solutions to that. Let's forget about the Europeans, because guess what? No matter what happens in the world, they're going to need our mangoes. If we start selling our mangoes amongst ourselves, they will start dancing to our tune rather than we dancing to their tune. So that's my answer.
Thank you very much. I am only going to take questions from ladies from now onwards. Our panel is very unfair and unbalanced, so our questioning cannot be. So if you are not a woman, please don't raise your hands. I'm not taking you. Only ladies from now onwards. Please, go ahead. There are no ladies on the panel, by the way. Huh?
That was what I was about to say, that the panel was, or the session was really gender biased, given that it's dominated by men. The speakers, the panelists, everything was just dominated by men. Mine is addressed to, by the way, my name is Seynabou Sarr, and I represent Wave Mobile Money. And my address is to Mr. Mike. As a digital
Mr. Mike, are you with us?
Yes.
He's enjoying Cairo, you know.
Yeah. So great initiative with the PAPS, and as a digital service payment service provider that is facilitating cross-border payments across the region. I'm interested in knowing if you have a roadmap in integrating with the BCAO, the central bank of that is the central bank of the YMO zone. Given that you have already integrated with Guinea, given that it's a francophone country. So I'm just more interested to know if you're going to integrate with BCAO.
I take it you are with us?
And,
okay.
Yes, I am. And I'm really delighted having a question from a woman because really, anything that we are doing, any plan for the future that doesn't include women is really not a good plan. So thank you so much for that question. We have been engaging all the central banks across Africa. We've had very significant engagements with the BCL. We've moved to a point where they are more accepting of the role of PAPS and also to participate in PAPS. So where we are now, we believe that between now and Q1 of next year, that we'll have BCL on our platform. BCL is so critical for us because if you look at our countries of presence, BCL is that one central bank that actually connects to most of our points of presence. And we believe that they will also very significantly benefit from the beauty of PAPS. So to answer your question more directly, yes, we have engaged with BCL. We believe that before the end of Q1 of next year, we will have BCL live on our platform. Thank you. I hope I wasn't talking to
Thank you very much. Any more questions from our ladies? We still have 2 minutes each on the panel in closing, but only women. See, I now give you the floor. Nobody's raising hands. Can you imagine? Okay, there's one there. Let's take it. Yes, ma'am.
All right, good afternoon. I'm from the life insurance space. So my question goes to the manufacturer, Mr. Tao. In terms of risk management for your business, how do you see life insurance fitting into your overall strategy, especially for key personnel? Because you are representing, I don't know whether you're familiar with life insurance space.
Wow, what a question, huh? I guess she's pitching me life insurance, that's why. Because, yes, exactly. Look, I think that's something that I should throw back at you. You should tell me how that should be important to my company and key personnel, because it's not really, I know how to sell mangoes and fertilizer. You know how to sell life insurance. So I should be asking you that question.
We will allow you to interact after this session, please, so that you can do that one-to-one and sell to each other. You understand? Because where I'm coming from, life is something else. It may not be for you, right? So do the one-to-one. I mean, maybe you'll make a client. I was going to ask, and maybe in closing, one of you should get this. You did mention, Mr. Omo, here that FBN, Vista, and Bloombank Africa Gambia are already on board. Now, Ms. Sar here had mentioned Wave. I see Nafa Financial Services. I see other financial service providers here. Can they also be the non-traditional bank financial companies? Can they also be on the Afreximbank system? Can they also benefit from the PAPS? Can they bring clients on board? Can they settle payments? Can they?
Yes, they can. It's just a matter of integration. And I think I personally have offered them all that integration. Everything we do as commercial banks can be integrated into any non-banking financial institution, any microfinance. So far they are interested. I think they can come here and then we can do what we need to do and push it. So they can.
So they can. 2 more questions from my ladies. Are you here or do we do our 2 minutes closing? We have someone there. Okay, one here and the last one in red at the back. Is it red? Is it pink? I'm colorblind. So we go with you, Halima. And then after you, pink or red at the back.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you once again. My MD, I just want to elaborate on what you're saying because as a fintech company or remittance company, most of the services that the banks or what the banks try to get from us is when are the dollars coming? How much dollars are you bringing in? How much dollars are you selling to us? And that brings back the question of the inflation that we are importing. So we have partnership across Africa. And when we remit to countries like Senegal or Guinea-Conakry, the settlement that we all talk about is the dollars. So PAPS coming into place, are we looking forward to a system where when I have a partner in Guinea-Conakry, instead of settling them in dollars, can I settle them in local currency? I was in Zambia last week. I met a potential partner, and my question was, when we have a partnership to remit to Zambia, what is the settlement currency? And what he sells to me is, you have to give me the dollars because that's where I make my FX. But again, that is bringing the pressure back to the currency, the inflation that we're all talking about. So what is PAPS doing in that respect? Thank you.
Okay, the first thing we should know that if I think of PAPS, there's no way I can think of foreign currency. It scraps foreign currency. It's strictly local currency. Yes, I admit that the dollar is what people want because of how we do trade in the country. I think businessmen for the past 6 weeks have been frustrated with the bank because when they walk into the bank, we say we don't have foreign currency, they walk out. So as bankers, naturally, we'll look for the foreign currency. But I think most of my partnership and people I've worked with, I don't concentrate on foreign currency. I rather concentrate on integration. We integrate because payment is what we are looking for. The long and short is that if I have the dollars, I don't need, if I have enough dollars to do my investments, to do my lending, I don't need the foreign currency. I'll be chasing foreign currency when I'm not getting enough dollars. So if I integrate and I'm getting lots of dollars through our integration, I don't think foreign currency will be an issue for me because I can invest those monies, I can lend those monies to the locals and make my interest margins. So it's not necessary. I know people want the dollars for their own businesses. So they want to sell to other people to make their spread. But the option of receiving in dollars or receiving in foreign currency is there. And as institutions, you can still insist that I want to settle you in foreign currencies and then pay a commission. That's another option you can handle it with. Thank you.
Last question. Last question there.
Good morning. I have to say, I'm not at all surprised that we have someone
We can barely hear you through the mic. Yeah, it's on now.
All right. Thank you very much. So I'm Kenny Job. I'm the Director of Exploration, Development and Production at the Gambia National Petroleum Corporation. I have a generic comment that's meant to be thought-provoking, so I think it's quite timely that it's the last. And when Mr. Mike started, he said, you don't have to travel out of Africa to get back to Africa, but that's actually exactly what happens still. I'm just from South Africa, where I had to go through 36 hours journey each way to get to Cape Town from West Africa. If I have to go to Lagos, I have to spend 8 or 9 hours on the way. And I always say we can't really expect regional integration and trade until we integrate at the basic levels. And that deals with currency exchanges, as brought up by my brilliant sister. Just now, the fact that we still don't have any common currency as a bloc, sub-regionally or regionally, and we do not have the integration that is required for travel. There's so many visa restrictions within us. In the West, policy is always shaped by business advocacy and business executives. I think we always say it is our governments that need to do it, but we really need to do more as business people. We need to come up in very strong lobby groups and ensure that our governments are not allowed to drag their feet another 50 to 100 years after independence. Almost all of African countries are at least 60 years old by now. So how long are we going to have these discussions that skirt around the main issues, which is that after really is just a word. It has not been actionified yet. Let me make up that word. It has not been translated into action. And that's where I wanted to end. my comment on. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree with you, besides my colorblindness, that in fact 36 hours to South Africa each way, you would have gone to London at minimum 5 times and back. And it's an insult. But also another aspect that I see why we cannot domesticate Banjul-Dakar flights. For example, there's so many things that annoy you that are really low-hanging fruits that we can talk about. From Dakar to Ziguinchor is the domestic flight. They fly all across our country, all the way to the other side, cheaper than Dakar-Banjul, less fuel, less time, less everything. So some of these things are conversations that we must have amongst ourselves as Africans to address. And I'm sure, the conversations can go on. How do we make our governments accountable? How do we put pressure? I don't know. But is this hindering trade, Mr. Sow, Mr. Bojang? And if it is, what are we doing about it? Because services, goods, and people must move at an affordable cost in a timely manner. And it's an insult still, but many of us go to Europe to come back to Africa. I am sure if you had traveled to London, London SA would have been less than 36 hours. If you had traveled to Paris, Paris SA would have been less. Why? If you had traveled to Brussels, Brussels SA would have been less. Why?
Yeah, when you mentioned that, I was laughing because I went through the same torture last month. And when you come back, you are like, why and why and why? The African continent is just unbelievable. Now, to address the question regarding the domestication between Gambia and Senegal, this is an issue that us, the government, we are working with our counterparts. And as Mr. Bojan mentioned, there's this presidential council that's handling a lot of these issues. And I can tell you that for the past 2 years, it's been an agenda item on the table, discussed bilaterally between our 2 presidents. And the go-ahead is that we should work towards making sure that it happens. And the next meeting is happening next month that GAIPA is organizing. It's the Senegambia Forum. We had this last year in Senegal. This year we're having it here. And on the sidelines of the meetings, we are also addressing this. Yes, we can domesticate the line, and it should be, because it doesn't make sense having a flight from Dakar or flying over Gambia to Ziguinchor and not having a domesticated flight. But it does not only ends between Gambia and Senegal, but within the sub-region, actually. If you look at Gambia, Ghana, Nigeria, within our sub-region, what can we do? Because again, if you take a flight, you spend a whole day just to get to Nigeria, which should have been a 2-4 hours flight. So yes, we are aware of this issue, and then the places that it should be dealt with is the Presidential Council for Gambia and Senegal. But again, as we were saying, when we are also working on the AfCFTA protocols, like the investment protocol, this also came very evident, because if we want to meet, we all have trouble getting in one place. So it's something that it's highlighted, but we need to have that framework agreements in place to ensure that we can break these barriers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We're going to give you, each of you, I'm having my stopwatch, 2 minutes means 2 minutes. Mr. Bojang will begin with you. Last words in 2 minutes. The stopwatch is on.
Yes, thank you very much. I think I will take a cue from the lady statement on the issue of, yes, government has a role to play, but the private sector also has a role to play. Government is negotiating this as a trade preferential scheme, the AfCFTA, is for the private sector. But the private sector, through the AGM and the association, they should need to organize themselves better, understand what they want to get from these trade preferential schemes, and engage government. I think that is also lacking a little bit, trying to influence government actions on some of these things. Again, she mentioned about free movement of goods. Goods cannot go alone without movement of people. So people have to go with goods. The AfCFTA has an associated protocol called free movement of protocol within the AU. So this is also signed and ratified by some of the AU countries. I want to believe if we work together, the private sector, the government, we can make AfCFTA an advantage for us as a small country because it has an investment protocol. We can attract the necessary investment in the country to take advantage of the AfCFTA and create the jobs and then stimulate economic growth as a result of the AfCFTA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mike, are you with us?
Yes, I am. And
you have your 2 minutes, sir.
Okay, I tried to comment on the comment on remittances, but before I make my 2 minutes, just to say to the lady that one of the things that PAPS is now doing for remittances across the continent is giving them a single interface where they can actually push transactions through and it can arrive anywhere on the African continent. So this might be something that we can further discuss. My second comment, I was trying to speak, but nobody was hearing me, is on the issue of transportation. I agree with you. There's no silver bullet here, but I like to think that PAPS is one key instrument that has the ability to transform. That's not to say that we don't have other issues around visas and transportation and other things. But the more we are able to adopt to PAPS, you will find that we will create a value which can actually have a multiplier effect. Because when you talk about a market, a key component of every market is the ability to pay. Because once you have sellers and buyers in a market, if you are not able to pay, the entire concept of the market breaks down. So we think that PAPS has that ability with further adoption by commercial banks and other payment service providers to have that transforming effect. So my key message is really welcoming other banks and even for fintechs to come through their commercial banks and discuss with PAPS to see how PAPS can help them to scale across the continent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are dead on time. Mr. CEO, your 2 minutes begins now.
Thank you very much. I think I agree with the panelists here. The greatest thing we need to do is a change of mindset. If, as banks, even if we go out there to market these PAPs, they're trying to want to turn our minds to Europe. Look, it's faster to send things to Europe, it's faster. How can we achieve it if we don't start? That's the question I always say. We need to start from somewhere. We need to change our mindset. I was very happy the way he spoke passionately about it. We need to change our mindset. Financially, when people walk into my bank, I sell PAPs before I even want to sell the foreign currency to you. So the mindset change is okay. And to talk about flying, trade would obviously bring the volumes for the airlines. People travel a lot to China. Why are they going to China? They are going to chase their goods. They want to buy something. Every day somebody's going to China because he wants to buy something. If trade starts in Africa, those airlines will change their mind because there will be inflows and outflows on a daily basis. And we don't need to fly 36 hours because the flights will always be full. So and I think prices will come down. So the trade among Africa, if we don't make up our minds to do it and we keep giving excuses why we can't do it, as you said, in the next 60 years, maybe my children will sit here and still be on a panel. So we need to start now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And no, we go to Mr. So. Mr. So, your 2 minutes begin now.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. You are right. Trade definitely is a catalyst towards addressing this issue of flight and the like. But let me just come back to the theme or the agenda of this forum. And that is how we can position this country to be a trade hub or an investment hub. Particularly, first you start with the policy and then the infrastructure, and then activities will then ride on top of that as vehicles. So for infrastructure, we've been doing a lot as a country. I mean, you've seen recently we've privatized the ports, the seaport, for the very good reasons that we need to be more competitive. And efforts also are being made with the airports as well. And then we're also working with partners to revitalize the river transport and logistics system to ensure that also goods can penetrate the sub-region. But also from a regional integration point of view, I mentioned, we've talked a lot about the AfCFTA here, but also I spoke about the TPOs and IPAs that are coming together. And then for businesses that are here, if you're doing international trade, please come and visit us, because there might be bilateral agreements that are in place, that are being put in place for you. You just need to be able to be aware of it and then to capitalize on top of this. But to end my concluding statements, I'd like to say that I'm very happy from what I've heard from Afreximbank here and Oakwood Green. And to a very large extent, I would really want us to sign an MOU to put some of these things into actions. I've picked up a lot of things that you mentioned, and I think we need to go into the implementation phase, and the MOU will help us do that. And just as the poet said here, we have to do something. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. So.
Bloomberg could be part of that MOU.
You would like to be?
I'll also have to sign part of that MOU.
Please, it's a platform after all. And we'll come to Mr. Manufacturer. I think the private sector is really the engine of growth. We'll give you your last 2 minutes. Share some wisdom.
Yeah, so I was trying to figure out what of value I can leave the room with. And I think I'll speak to, looking around the room, I see a lot of private sector individuals. And as Gambians, I believe that when we're going into business or going into any endeavor, we believe that we're such a small country, so we think small. I want you guys to take this opportunity as an opportunity to validate your thoughts and think big. There is a huge opportunity and a lot can be done because nothing is being done. So if we are able to take the leap and have faith in our abilities, we can do so much. I would really hope that everybody in this room leaves here looking at the opportunities that these people have brought to us as an opportunity for us to reach what we couldn't reach before. And it starts with knowing that anything is possible. That's to you as Nyunla. My brothers and my sisters. Guy hamun luma wax ni de. Why dañ wara gom suñ boppa. You gom suñ boppa, you dance suñ dole. There's a famous saying.
Your Wolof is terrible.
I know. But my business is good. So, then to the team from Oakwood Green, Bloombank, and everybody, we thank you guys. We also want you to look at our business people as opportunities and not risks. There's risk in every single business. I just came from the US before the election, and I was talking to some people, and they asked me, why would I invest in Gambia? Is it politically stable? And I said, that's relative. Your opposition leader just survived 2 assassination attempts. Is the US politically stable? So it's about how we brand ourselves. As businesses, yes, we have a lot of risk, but what business doesn't? And what reward comes without risk? So let's try and look at the opportunities and try and support the businesses as best as we could. I think I'll leave it there. Thank you. Oh, and join the association.
Thank you very much. I really, really appreciate the quality of this panel. But since I'm chair, I want my only boss in this whole room. I mean, nobody's talking about Oakwood Green. So I'll give the opportunity to my chairman, my CEO. You spoke before my panel. I want you to see the quality of my panel and tell me what you think before I close. So I'll give you the mic, sir. So let's hear your reflections about the quality of the panel and how your mind may have been shifted from when you spoke to now.
Thank you so much, my brother, and for the honor given me to speak after the wonderful ladies that spoke. I must say that I'm very, I'm happy at the turnout of events. There's been a lot of intelligent talk here. Amazing. So thank you, the panelists. I'm really happy, Mr. So, Farimang, and the rest. But there's something that, that's Mr. Farimang, right? Ta. There's something you said which was very important and resonated with me. You know, the system is really rigged. We think that the market is out there. Well, the market is right here. You know, the market is right here, 1.4 billion people. We must start looking inwards, guys. We must start looking inwards. There's no point us just struggling to meet somebody else's objectives. It's rigged. You can't sell in some markets, so your standards are now better than international standards. And if they bring new standards, you will do something again so that you're now better. It's rigged. It's the same reason why, Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are producing 80% of the world's cocoa, but we're importing chocolates. Really, what is wrong with us? When we can consume our cocoa here. The truth is what you said, Tal, is that if we start selling to ourselves, someday they would not find the products and they will be coming for us. Seriously. So what I want to leave, and thank you, Gaipa, we'll be very happy to sign an MOU to assist you with seeing how to get the SMEs and get all of the businesses on. But same with TAL and the Manufacturers Association. Some of the comments that came up out here is that we don't produce enough. And so we need to see how to aggregate. But you see, they are small, 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 small. We actually can act as that aggregator for you, okay? To be able to produce. And the financing is actually available. Afreximbank has the Export Development Program, but having access to it is something that I know has been difficult. The team is here, Oakwood Green Africa, and maybe they should stand up so you can see them. Cynthia, okay? They are here, Daniel there. You can speak to them after this. We can help you to access the other markets in Africa and navigate through the challenges that you have for trade within Africa. But the truth is that if we trade more with ourselves, then the connectivity will start. The shops and the, trade across those regions will start. Don't say, and I like the last comment too, let's think big. Let us think big. We can actually set up the factories here to supply Africa. You can be the one supplying mangoes and grains to the rest of Africa. Why not? Why not? If you told Lee Kuan Yew in those days that it was impossible, it would never have been done. Everything is always impossible till somebody does it. So the challenge to us here, and it's not just the government, it is the private sector. Pick something. Discuss with us. Let us see how to improve and grow your business for you. So the accelerator program, let's get on it. The payments in local currency, let's study it. The export development program that is there, let's do it. Get on the marketplace channel we're going to do. Let us help the manufacturing companies load up their information and join the ATG so people can see them and trade with them. I think we can do it, and I think we will do it. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you so much to my very effective, powerful, loaded panel. Despite the fact that there are no ladies on the panel, you gentlemen have done wonderfully well. I promise you, Gambian ladies, the next panel must have a lady, or I will turn myself to Mrs. to host it. And thank you very much. And to Mr. Bojang, thank you. Mr. Sow, thank you. Mr. Almo, Mr. Tal, gentlemen, thank you so much for a wonderful discourse. Thank you. You may take your seats. And I'd like to call, remember lunch is here on us. And also, we'll want to encourage everybody to stay, to chit-chat, and do a one-to-one. Mr. Mike, I think you had your last words already, so we want to thank you very much for being with us. And the last speaker this afternoon is Aminata Ba, Head of Retail Banking, to do the vote of thanks. Aminata, where are you? Aminata wants to come to the podium. I'll give it to you back. Thank you, thank you. Your stuff is back again.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm not Aminata, clearly. But Aminata, please, welcome to the podium. Everyone, please put your hands together for...
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. What an interesting day. Okay, good afternoon, Dr. Rashid, Board Chairman. Good afternoon also to our Excellency, the Ambassador of Inter-Africa Trade, Mr. Gabriel Egal. Indeed, you are an exceptional ambassador who believes in Africa and its people. You believe in adding value and also impacting lives. That one, I can be a testimony of that. Thank you also. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister of Finance, good afternoon, Minister of Finance, and also the Minister of Trade, and also the Governor of CBG, represented by Dr. Lamin Mane. Good afternoon also to Mr. Mike, CEO of PAPS. At least we know that PAPS is here to make trade simple and easy for all of us, and no challenge of foreign currency anymore. Good afternoon also to Mr. Alain Bonge, I hope I pronounce the surname well, and the regional CEO of Afreximbank. Thank you for helping us in making sure you are the correspondent bank of we, the African banks, that the other banks find it like a high risk to deal with. So thank you very much for that. And also good afternoon to representatives of Afreximbank here, the CEO of GAIPA, and our exceptional MD, Mr. Alfred Amua, Captain of Industries, MDs of banks, and other MDs here present, members of the media present here, to our customers also, and to the Oakwood Green members, and also to the management and staff of Bloombank Africa. I mean Bloombank Africa, not only Gambia, because we have Liberia, we have, I believe, Sierra Leone also. So we are one family. As we come to the close of this inspiring business breakfast meeting, I am honored to express our gratitude on behalf of all attendees. This event has given us a unique platform to discuss the term Trade Africa, Trade Global, which aligns with our vision to foster inter-Africa trade, collaboration, and to achieve sustainable growth across the continent. First, I would like to extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our speakers whom I have already mentioned, who have enlightened us with their valuable insights on Africa trade opportunities, challenges, and prospects in the global economy. Your expertise and commitment to advancing trade relationships have sparked ideas and new perspectives that we will all take away today, I believe so. Thank you to our organizers, without whom the event would not have been possible. Your dedication to facilitating meaningful discussions around Africa global trade potential has truly played off this morning, which I also believe, creating a forum for exchange and collaboration. A big thank you also to all our attendees whom I've already greeted earlier for your engagement and enthusiasm in contributing to the strength and future of Africa's role on the global stage. We hope you find value in today's sessions and that you leave with, all of us here will leave with new connections and ideas to drive positive change in our various businesses and industries. Finally, we encourage everyone to continue these discussions and work towards stronger and more inclusive trade partnership with Africa at their core. Together, let us strive to make Trade Africa, Trade Global not only a term, but also a shared goal. Thank you once again to everyone here. We said a big thank you. So, as the previous speaker said, we have the tools. We have Afreximbank here. We have PAPS. We have GCCI. We have CBG to make sure we are compliant. and all that. So let's implement. And also, as Cherno said, we need to do something, though I believe that the term has changed from Trade Africa, Trade Global to doing something. So let's all do something to achieve something. And let's all tell each other the truth, and which we've done here today, because as there was a quote I read somewhere, that truth is like a surgery. It is painful, but it cures. But the opposite of truth, which I don't want to mention, is like a painkiller, but it has side effects. So I believe we all here dealt with several challenges and issues that is facing Africa. So let's implement. It's time to implement, and so we will do so in order to make Africa great. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very, very much. And I'm sure we're all ready to end the day today. However, I just have something short to talk about here, which is the Gambia Breakfast Meeting series. Because I don't know if you guys know this, but this is the maiden edition of what Bloomberg promises to be a continuous platform for impactful dialogue. And as a thought leader in the financial sector, Bloomberg Africa has taken this initiative to convene the groundbreaking event that we have witnessed here today. And this series, like I said, will serve as a regular platform, bringing together key stakeholders and players from the financial industry, facilitating very important decisions, not only addressing critical issues, but also driving actionable strategies to unlock Gambia's trade and economic potential. Their leadership, honestly, in creating this platform underscores their commitment to fostering collaboration, innovation, and regional integration. And I hope that you all will be present for the subsequent breakfast meetings that we will be having throughout the year, which will be happening quarterly, if I'm not mistaken. And it will be a fantastic meeting to be able to have you all here again today. So without further ado, Mr. Drame, would you like to say anything before I finally close today's event?
I want my panel back.
Yes, we want all the panel back, all the panel members for a group photo.
And then I want the representatives from Dr. Mane, all of the speakers at the beginning, please. I'd like to do a group photo.
Speakers, honorable ministers, guest speakers, please come to the stage. Well, they're removing my podium and, cutting off my voice, but...
You need a bank that cares about you. We are here to lend a hand, and we will place no one above.